What's up, Debbie? Thank you for being here. What's up, everybody? Good to see you, Libby. Good to see you, Debbie. Good to see everybody who is on Facebook, everybody who's on YouTube, everybody who's on Kick, and everybody's on Twitch. Great to see all of you in here. So, I figure since we are jumping into hurricane season, be a good time to teach about hurricanes. Hope you all have had a great night. We're having a great night here on Wednesday, July 22nd. So hope you all are having a great night. So but give like 5 more minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. How is everything your way, Debbie? How is the floods or rain, and how is everything over there in West Virginia going? Yeah, let us know if you had any flooding issues, Debbie, any damage, anything yesterday from those tornado warnings, and anything else. So let us know. Oh, nice. That is good. Debbie says it didn't flood in Reno, but it did flood up north, so that's good. I mean, it's not good it flooded, but at least it didn't. At least it didn't flood your way there. So yeah, it's there have been quite a bit of floods. So um, I know West Virginia got hit pretty hard yesterday with some flooding. Technically today as well. So, but again, I hope you all are having a great night. Hope you all are enjoying it. It's a beautiful night here in Chicago. I got the windows open. We got the windows open, so it's a beautiful night. We don't have to have the AC on. It is a beautiful night when we do not have to have the AC blaring. Give the AC a break and let in the natural air conditioning. So, but yeah, tonight's a fun topic. Learn about some hurricanes. Um, we'll get into a little bit of the scientific side, just a little bit. We're not going to jump too deep into it, but we'll get into that. Especially here in the U.S., how they affect us, where they mainly come from. So we will take a look at that. And welcome in, my beautiful wife. Thank you for being in here. Uh, just appreciate you, honey. Excuse me. Appreciate you, honey. Love you very much. You were very awesome. But yeah, like I said, it's a great time to learn this. It is hurricane season, and we do have tropical storm Bertha going on down there. So when it comes to that, so yeah, we'll learn about some hurricanes here. Again, I will give it about another 10 minutes or so. Let people give people time to jump in. I didn't set up a schedule or anything, so um, I didn't give anybody a forewarning or anything. So we will just see here and give it about 10 more minutes or so. But it is a great topic. It's a topic that is it is a topic that is a great topic. So again, welcome everybody who is here on Twitch. Welcome everybody who's here on Facebook. Welcome to everybody who is here on Kick, and welcome to everybody who is here on YouTube. You guys are all awesome. You guys, excuse me, are always awesome. So, but yeah, definitely wanted to live stream again. I know it's a little bit later, but it it is a cool topic, like I said. So again, welcome to everybody who's watching on Facebook. Welcome to everybody who's watching on Kick. Welcome to everybody who's watching on Twitch and everybody who is watching on YouTube. Appreciate you all being here. Y'all are awesome. What did you guys all have for? Hope you guys had a great dinner. Yesterday was a long stream, but it was well worth it. I'm happy to do it. Um, so oh man. Again, yes, thank you to everybody who is in here. Like I said, give about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll jump into it. Wait for some more people to jump in here. Wait for some more people. Sounds good, Libby. Sounds good. I did. If you guys didn't, I think you guys did though. Uh, I did look at chasing for a causes pictures yesterday. So really, some pretty good pictures there of some shelf cloud of a shelf cloud there. So, but yeah, pretty good pictures there by chasing for a cause. So yeah, good stuff there. Um, so good stuff there going on with. Yeah, she did have some good pictures there. Um, But besides that, yeah. Um, Yesterday was a pretty busy day. We did have quite a bit of tornado warnings there yesterday. They did not want to stop. Basically nonstop from about 1 o'clock Central Time to I don't know what 10, almost 9, 10, almost 10 o'clock Central Time last night. So they went pretty much nonstop all day yesterday. Oh, yeah, today in Chicago has been nice. I think we only got up to about I think we only got up to about 70 today or so, something like that. Right around maybe a little higher, but today was a really great today was a great nice weather day in Chicago. So very good stuff there. So yeah, great weather day. A great day all around. So nice. Yeah, like I said, it was nice here in Chicago. It was really nice here in Chicago. So yeah, but then according to the forecast, we still have about uh, the 90s returning here sometime. I think that's towards the end of this week. So, but then again, it's a forecast and things change by the minute. So thank you, um, Rubens. Thank you, Rubens, for subscribing. Highly appreciate that. Thank you and welcome in. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, the air quality has been really bad. The air quality has been very bad at quite a few different locations because of the Canadian fires. So it has not been the greatest. So like I said last week here in Chicago last week, we had one day where it was yeah, it was definitely different, that was for sure. So with the whole like haze and the um just the way the smoke looked and smelled and all the other stuff. So we actually had that happen to us too in Chicago here back in 2024 as well. So that happened in 2024 to us as well over here. But yeah, it is pretty wild though. It's pretty wild just to know how far that stuff gets carried. And that stuff gets carried thousands and thousands of miles. It's just wild to think how far that can. You think if you're downstream, thousands and thousands of miles, you won't, um, like you won't get affected by it or not or something, but you definitely can. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I definitely don't know. Um, yeah, definitely. If you live right that close to it, I definitely don't know how. Yeah, they would. I don't know. That would suck horribly bad. So I mean, think how. I was thinking how kind of bad it's been for us, and we're like thousands of miles away, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, if not thousands of miles away of where they're running at. So, but the wind, whatever which way the wind is dictating, the wind, the upper level winds will blow it. Um, If we have a cold front, we have a front pushing through. Wherever the winds are most strongest at that point, that's where it would carry the smoke and carry all of that. It's pretty well, but I'll give it 4 more minutes. We'll start at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Central, 11 Eastern, 9 Mountain Time, and 8 Pacific. So 4 more minutes, and we'll jump into hurricanes. So it'd be a great topic. Gonna learn about hurricanes, learn about what they are, how they form, some cool, interesting facts. So we will look into that since it is hurricane season, and we do have a tropical storm going on down in the south in the Gulf. So uh, whether you want to call it the Gulf of Mexico, or you want to call it the Gulf of America, or whatever you want to call it, it's going on down in the Gulf, and that would be Tropical Storm Bertha. So Tropical Storm Bertha, and as you will learn here or see here coming up, you will see. Um, you will see the 4 different stages of what turns into a hurricane. So we'll get into that. Get into some fun stuff. Um, but yeah, it's been a great day here. Again, hopefully you guys have all had a great day as well. So I apologize. I can't stop yawning, but I don't know why. Maybe it's all this nice fresh air. I don't know. But it is beautiful outside. It is a beautiful night. Again, thank you to everybody who's watching on Facebook. Thank you to everybody who is watching on Kick. Thank you to everybody who's watching on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who's watching on Twitch. Glad that you all are glad that you all are in here. So I highly appreciate that. Get about 1 more minute, and then we'll get started. We'll get started with some cool hurricane stuff here. So, yes, I've had a great day, Libby. Thank you very much. It's been an awesome day. Just been a always a great day. Spending time with my wife and our son. So, definitely a great day. Definitely a great day. So, hope you've had a great day today as well. But again, thank you to everybody who's tuning in here. Thank you to everybody. I know I just kind of popped on here, didn't give any type of schedule or anything, but so I appreciate you all being in here. But sometimes this is how it will happen. So sometimes I'll just pop in. Sometimes I'll give a schedule, um, or whatever, schedule it out for a little bit. But besides that, you all are here. So I appreciate that. With that being said, um, looks like it's time to jump in and learn about hurricanes. So it's gonna be a great lesson here. And again, like always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, always put them in the chat. So So I highly, highly appreciate again all of you being in here. Um, so tonight's lesson is going to be about hurricanes. Some cool facts about hurricanes, how they form, the ingredients they need to form. Why do tornadoes form in hurricanes? So we'll take a look at some of that, and then again, like some cool facts. Some pretty decent facts or cool facts there, as you want to call it, about hurricanes. And when it comes to that, so like always, start off always by thanking my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for saving me, for being my guiding light, for loving me all the time, at all times, for everything that I am and for everything that I do. Very thankful and blessed for his for his love, his unconditional love. So very thankful, very blessed again. Very thankful for his love and for his mercy and for his grace, for his uh, support, for his help, for his guidance, just for his patience, for everything. So he is awesome. He is the number one reason. He is the greatest relationship that I have. So very thankful. Again, so again, always give credit and always give love to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you do not know Jesus on a personal level, if you do not have a personal level, if you do not have a personal relationship with Jesus, please reach out to me. Please reach out to somebody in the comments, in the chat, and we can help steer you and lead you in the right direction. Again, it is not us who saved you, it is Jesus who saves you through your faith and by your faith alone. So again, so very, very thankful. Just awesome stuff there. So just can't, obviously I can't say enough, obviously. So but very blessed and very you know very blessed by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So very thankful for his love, for his mercy, and for his grace. So let's dive in. So again, what is tonight's topic? Tonight's topic is hurricanes. So you all have probably heard of them, I'm assuming. That you all know or have seen or have heard what a hurricane is. But maybe some of this might be regurgitated information. But some of this might be or some of this might be brand new information to you as well. So again, feel free to ask questions, um, put any comments, concerns, feedback into the chat, and I will answer it the best that I can. So let's dive in. Hurricanes. What are they? Hurricanes are one of nature's most powerful storms. They produce strong winds, storm surge flooding, and heavy rainfall that can lead to inland flooding, tornadoes, and rip currents. And like all the information that I use to teach you guys with, just to give you guys the visual show and tell, I utilize NOAA, 99% of the time. So this is NOAA here. So this is from the authoritative weather authority here in the United States. Again, and this can be found again on the NOAA website. So regarding hurricanes. So again, they produce strong winds, storm surge flooding, and heavy rainfall. They can lead to inland flooding, tornadoes, and rip currents. So very dangerous and powerful stuff. I don't know if any of you all have ever been in a hurricane. If you have, let me know in the comments if you have actually been in a hurricane. Whether it's been the eye wall, whether it's been in the eye, whether it's been an outer band, whatever it has been, let me know if you've ever actually been in a hurricane. So it'd be good to know from that. So, what is a hurricane? Well, a hurricane, known generically as a tropical cyclone, are low pressure systems. So this is sometimes what people, if you don't know what's actually happening. Again, we will dive into some of the science that's happening in there, some of the meteorological science that's going on there. So, and sometimes people don't understand that this is actually a low pressure system. So um, that is what's driving this. So this is a low pressure system with organized thunderstorm activity that form over tropical or subtropical waters. Libby says, I haven't, would not, never mind experiencing them. Yes, absolutely. So, they gain their energy from warm ocean waters. Yes. So, and we will get into that. So, hurricanes are actually called heat engines. They're referred to heat engines, just like the engine in our cars. Our cars, the cars in or sorry, the engines in our cars are heat engines. So um, they produce energy, right? So the mechanical energy that is released in a hurricane is the wind. Um, so again, hurricanes are referred to as heat engines, and when they release the mechanical energy that is released, it is the wind that gets released. And again, they are a heat engine. The heat engine is basically the same form of the engines that are inside of our cars. So just a little fun fact, fun stuff there. Um, so again, they gain their energy from warm ocean waters. Okay, and we will dive a little bit more deeper into that, and just so we get more of an understanding of what is happening there and how that is happening. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody who is watching across all of the platforms. So here it says, what does it mean for a tropical storm to be organized? So sometimes you'll hear forecasters or some say, well, we're waiting to see if this storm gets organized, or a tropical depression or whatever it may be. But they will use the word organized. That is a word that we do use. So these satellite images show the disturbance that became Hurricane Ian in September 2022. The image on the left, there is no clear thunderstorm banding. On the right, the disturbance has escalated to a tropical storm and has become organized with bands wrapping around the center. So yes, so we will talk about. So again, we'll talk about the four from birth, how a hurricane gets birthed, and what those four stages look like. So we will dive into that again. And again, if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, put them in the chat, please. So as storm systems strengthen into hurricanes, the surface winds move continuously in a circular motion. So again, this is due because there is a low level shear. So we don't have a lot of shear that's going on. So the winds are able to move pretty much in the same direction. Um, so when you do that, when you don't have very much shear, the winds are able to, especially in a hurricane, are able to be steered and spin clockwise there. So we will get into a little bit more of that because it actually creates what's called a closed circulation. So we will get into that a little bit. The surface winds move continuously in a circular motion. Meteorologists refer to this pattern as a closed circulation. Again, as I mentioned, the direction of circulation is different depending on where the storm is located. So the equator is the dividing line. And because of the Coriolis effect, or the Coriolis force, if you are north of the equator or the northern hemisphere, the storm is going to be rotating counterclockwise, just like tornadoes, right? The 99.9% of tornadoes rotate counterclockwise, except for when except for when there's a few of them that want to act different and they want to be stubborn and they want to become anticyclonic. But nonetheless, hurricanes in the north, though, will spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, and if they are in the southern hemisphere, they will actually spin clockwise. So just like tornadoes in the southern hemisphere spin clockwise. And again, this is due to the Coriolis effect. Um, That is what is causing that there. So we so these rotating winds lead to the development of characteristic eye of the hurricane, the calm, clear center of the storm. The eye is surrounded by the eye wall where winds are strongest. So remember, when a hurricane comes on shore, um, the winds right there in the eye wall, that right there creates and has the strongest winds right there. So not the outer bands, not the middle bands or whatever else it may be. It is the eye wall that has the strongest winds there. So tropical cyclones are classified by their maximum wind speed. So tropical depressions, winds less than 39 miles per hour. And then winds 39 to 73 are tropical storms. It is only when you get to 74 miles per hour is when it is classified as a hurricane. So again, the order of progression is depression, storm, and then hurricane. And then the order which it regresses would be hurricane, tropical storm, tropical depression. And we also get into we will also talk about tropical disturbance slash tropical wave, which is the fourth part of that. So major hurricanes have at least 111 miles per hour. So major hurricanes are Category 3 hurricanes or greater. So anytime a hurricane reaches Category 3, and there are 5 categories, which we will get into, and I'll show you those. But so anytime it reaches Category 3, Category 4, or Category 5, which is the highest, it does get labeled a major hurricane. So again, major hurricanes have winds of at least 111 miles per hour and can reach speeds of over 180 with gusts of 200 miles per hour. So again, very, very strong winds. So major hurricanes start at 111 miles per hour. What's in the name? So basically, how do hurricanes get their names? Like, because we hear different names all the time. So who chooses them? How do we get them? So hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. So again, I do think I have a slide on it here. I can't remember or not, but if not, I will briefly touch on it. So a hurricane, right? Hurricane is what we call here in the Atlantic Basin, as we call it in the Atlantic. When you go to the Northwest Pacific, uh, it's going to be called a typhoon. Now, when you go south of that and you go around like New Zealand and Australia, and then if you keep headed west towards Africa, if you head west out of Australia towards Africa, so this would be the west side of Africa, it's actually going to be called a cyclone. So, but nonetheless, it is still the same thing. It is still the exact same thing, just a different name in different parts of the world. So, whenever you hear typhoon, whenever you hear cyclone, whenever you hear hurricane, it is the exact same thing. It's just different named. It's just named differently in different parts of the world. Don't know why. That's just how it's been. But yes. So hurricane, typhoon, cyclone, all the same thing. And it's actually what it's going to say here as well. So hurricane, typhoons, and cyclones are actually all the same type of storm, but have different names based on where they're from. In the North Atlantic and Central and East North Pacific, which is right around here, these storms are called hurricanes. In the Western North Pacific, they're called typhoons, and in the South Pacific and Indian Ocean, they are called cyclones. Tropical cyclones are rare in the South Atlantic. So, once a storm escalates into tropical storm level winds, it is given a name. So, it's only once it becomes a tropical storm do they slap a name on it. So, the names are chosen by the International Committee of the World Meteorological Organization, or what is also known as a WMO. Names are reused every 6 years. So, every 6 years, they will recycle these names. However, they do retire names though as well. So, although the WMO may retire the name of a particularly deadly or costly storm, so like Katrina will never ever be used again. You won't ever see Katrina again and I do believe Andrew is retired as well. You won't ever see the name Andrew. So you won't ever see the name Andrew, and you won't ever see the name Katrina ever given to a hurricane ever again. And that is due obviously to the catastrophe that they cause. So a lot of the catastrophic damage, obviously that happens. So they do hold the authority to do that. But again, every 6 years, these do rotate. So how do they form? This is okay. So how do how do hurricanes even become it? How does it even start? What is happening there? So how do tropical cyclones form? And we'll dive a little bit more into this than what this is talking here. So tropical storms form at an atmospheric disturbance like a tropical wave. So what a tropical wave is, it's also called a tropical disturbance. So what's happening? So if you ever look off of the main hurricanes that we get here in the United States, the majority of them that you will see out in the Atlantic, coming from the west, or out from the east, headed west, like towards Florida and everything else. But they'll be coming from Africa. They actually come off of the easterly winds out off of Africa. They create what's called an easterly wave. Um, um, and so what happens is they come off of the coast of Africa, and then there's a storm. It could just be one storm. Could just be one single storm that sits there and ingests moisture. Then all of a sudden, there's a few other storms that pop up as well. Um, so there could be other. Hold on, I just saw a question here. Libby says, "Do the names rotate in a year between male and female names, or is 1 year male names and the next year they're all females?" No, every year it is rotating between. It's always male and female in the same year, so they just use. But it's not like 1 year is male and 1 year is female. Every year has male and female names already picked out. So they are used. So both genders are used. So yeah. So both female and both males are used every year. But again, so what's happening? Um, so what is happening? We have the winds that are blowing out from the east. Well, they're coming out of the east, out of Africa. So they're blowing west, right? So you could also call it a westerly wave, technically as well. So what's happening off of Africa is we have all those winds coming off of Africa. They create a disturbance there. So they create a disturbance that could become a tropical disturbance, and all it takes is one storm to come off of Africa there, kind of sit there for kind of be taken off of the land of Africa there, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, it's drawing up moisture from because the warm air is rising off of the ocean. So what's happening is the warm air is rising off of the ocean. So now we're getting instability now. We're getting moisture. Um, and so what's happening is in that. So once we have that one storm, it draws up all of that water up high enough, and then when that water comes back down, it's actually it starts to create more condensation, so it's able to create more convection. So when you create more convection, you create clouds. You create more clouds, cumulonimbus. So it actually only takes one thunderstorm to come off of the coast of Africa. There, this is how we mainly get them. But they come out of Mexico too as well. We can get some disturbances that come out of Mexico, sit in the Gulf of Mexico. That happens quite often as well. But the main ones that we always see, they will come from Africa over to Florida or North Carolina, South Carolina. Sometimes they will scoot south of Florida and end up in the Gulf of Mexico as well. And they'll hit Texas or hit Mexico as well. But nonetheless, so there, and we'll get into a little bit more. But like I said, so we have a tropical disturbance, which is or a tropical wave, and that is a low pressure system. So this whole hurricane, depression, So this whole depression, this whole storm, this whole hurricane starts with what is known as a tropical disturbance slash tropical wave. This is a low pressure system. And again, so what happens is we get one storm, then we get a cluster of storms. So what happens now? Now we have the cluster of storms. So now they're starting to come together and to create that. So again, I will get more into that, but I just want to kind of tell you like what happens when it comes out of Africa. So again, we have the winds blowing, we have the heat from the ocean, and we'll talk about that when what's needed. So tropical storms form from an atmospheric disturbance like a tropical wave. And again, a tropical wave, this is a tropical disturbance. This is a low pressure system. So, or a group of thunderstorms. So again, it could take one storm that blossoms into multiple thunderstorms. So for these disturbances to grow into a tropical cyclone, the following environmental conditions must be in place. So warm ocean waters. So what they say is for a hurricane or not, whatever, a depression that becomes a tropical storm that becomes a hurricane. So for a cyclone to form, there has to be at least the ocean water has to be at least 80 degrees. Even if you go to 79 degrees, it will take away all of its energy and all of its movement that it needs. So 79 degrees will actually it won't be able to form. 80 is basically the bare minimum start for the hurricane. So it's pretty wild there. Because even if it hits 79 degrees, so let's say it's because it needs all that warm water to keep churning. That's why it gets strengthened. Like when we see it out over the Atlantic, it's all over those warm waters that are like 88 degrees, 87 degrees, whatever else. But then when it starts getting closer to waters that are a little bit cooler, you can actually see when it starts to weaken. So and it starts to just fall apart because it doesn't have the energy from it no more. So that's one key thing. An unstable atmosphere driven by difference in temperature, where temperature decreases with height. Moist air near the mid level of the atmosphere must be at least 200 miles, with very rare exceptions, north or south of the equator to spin due to again, this is the Coriolis effect. So, what is going on there? Little change in wind speed or direction with height, known as low vertical wind shear. So again, if there is high vertical wind shear, like there is needed for a tornado, it would cut out. It would cut out and actually it would the hurricane would fall apart and pretty much dissipate because what would happen is it needs low level wind shear to drive it in one direction. So high level wind shear would basically just rip it apart, and because you'd have strong winds going this way, you'd have strong winds going this way, and they'd be crisscrossing each other, and the hurricane would be like, I don't even know what's going on, so it wouldn't be able to to stay together. So those are they kind of hit a little bit here. They don't get very in depth though. So that's why I do have another page where we will talk about a little bit more in depth on that. So hurricane safety. Hurricanes, tropical storms, and tropical depressions pose a variety of threats to people and property. Water hazards. Storm surge and inland flooding have historically been the leading cause of loss of life during hurricanes. Hurricanes can also bring strong winds, tornadoes, rough surf, and rip currents. The time to prepare for a hurricane is before hurricane season begins. And technically, they have June 1st is basically the start of our hurricane season in the Atlantic and Central Pacific, and May 15th in the Eastern Pacific. So we do basically have a hurricane season. I believe it's June 1st to November 1st, I believe is what it is. Is what it is. Or it's either June 1st to November 1st or June 1st to December 1st. That is the what is known as our hurricane season. So hurricane categories only tell part of the story. That's true. So hurricanes are categorized again using the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. So again, we will get into that in a little bit. which addresses wind speed on a scale from 1 to 5. However, a tropical storm or category 1 or 2 hurricane can cause as much overall damage as a major hurricane. And why is that? Because so the wind in a hurricane, yes, it is strong, but the main part, what's happening here, as soon as the hurricane hits land, it's it's hitting friction, right? It's the different friction that compared to the sea versus land. So as soon as it hits that friction, as soon as it comes into land, it doesn't have the moisture anymore that it needs. So yes, the winds when they first hit the land, they will be strong because of the eye and so. But as soon as it starts getting over land, it's already weakening, and it starts weakening pretty quickly. So that's why the main thing in a storm um, is not the winds; it is the storm surge and the flooding that comes with that. So yeah, so that is why a category 1 or 2 can be just as damaging or deadly as a major hurricane. So it obviously depends on where it hits. It depends on how homes are built and and sea level and so there's obviously geographical location. Of course, there's different things that go inside of that, but nonetheless, the main thing with hurricanes is and uh, has always been the storm surge and has always been the flooding. So, because remember, as soon as the eye comes to land, it's already weakening and it starts weakening rather quickly. So, because it needs the warm waters again to sustain itself. And again, different friction. Again, we will get into a little bit deeper in that. So, every storm is different. Each tropical system can bring a variety of unique life threatening hazards to a given location. It's critical to know your risk. Um, yes, good point there, Libby. Libby says, I think some people forget the power of water and what the storm surge is capable of. Yes. So storm surge. What is storm surge? Just for people out there who might not know what storm surge is, I will get to that in a second. But thank you, Tatiana, for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that very much. So again, so what is storm surge? So if they say, hey, we're expecting a storm surge of 6 feet, a storm surge of 12 feet, whatever, that's basically saying that it's expecting 6 to 12 feet of water to just be coming up over and onto shore. So that is a huge amount of storm surge that's coming with, that's what it's pushing onto land. So storm surge is very damaging. So imagine if you're used to a beach, right? And then all of a sudden that beach gets completely annihilated by the storm surge, which happens all the time. So a lot of times people will still be thinking that, well, hey, even you know, if I'm used to being on the beach or where the beach starts or whatever else at, and no, that's not within not too long. As soon as that storm surge hit, that beach is going to be underwater. So yeah, definitely good point there, Libby. Appreciate that very much. But again, yes, especially if you live in a storm surge evacuation zone or an area where flooding could occur. So again, if we this is why, this is why Katrina was so bad for, right? It hit New Orleans, which if you guys don't know, New Orleans is actually underneath sea level. It actually sits below the water, so it actually sits below the ocean. It actually sits below Lake Pontchartrain. So the whole city, basically of New Orleans and all around it, is below sea level. So as soon as that water came in, it basically, the city, what it is a flood zone. It's prone to flooding. So the only main reason it doesn't flood is all because of the Army Corps of Engineers. They have made all these like dams and blockades and everything like that. But nonetheless, that's why Katrina was so bad, because it hit an area that was already below sea level. So that was one main reason that it was horribly bad, and of course the second other reason was the levees breaking, and of course everything else that went on from there. So again, that was Hurricane Katrina in 2005. For those of you who may not know what I'm talking about. But again, so if you are in a storm surge evacuation zone or in an area where flooding could occur, even if you previously survived in it, survived a storm in your area, future hurricanes may bring different hazards, and they do because every hurricane is different. Um, so you can't just think, well, we had a previous hurricane here and it didn't do much or whatever, but the next one, you don't definitely don't want to let your guard down and just assume that it's going to be the same exact, replica of what happened before. Local officials may issue evacuation orders, which they do a lot in Florida. You will see, or any type, they'll say, "Hey, we got a Category 3, Category 4, Category 5 bearing down." Um, so if you'll see that, like in a lot of places will get evacuated. Sometimes there will be mandatory evacuations, but even in mandatory evacuations, people do still stay because they don't want to abandon their home. So it happens all the time. Local officials may issue evacuation orders before storm or storm surge watches or warnings are issued for your area. Evacuation orders are released to ensure residents have enough time to leave vulnerable areas before the first hazards of the storm arrive. Be prepared to evacuate and do so immediately when ordered. So why do they want you to leave when ordered, right? Well, several reasons, right? Safety, one. But not only for your safety, for the safety of first responders. Because what's going to happen is if they pass out mandatory evacuations that says, hey, you have to be out of your home by 5 p.m. tonight. That is the latest. This is a mandatory evacuation. Now, they're not going to throw you in jail. I mean, that's not what's going to happen. But what they're basically going to tell you is that you are on your own. If you do end up getting hurt in this hurricane, if you do get flooded and your house gets flooded and whatever else, you are basically on your own because we have given you a warning. Because if you do stay here, you are going to put first responders in jeopardy, and now you're going to put their lives in jeopardy. So that's basically what they would tell you. They would basically say, "Hey, we want you out of here. You got to leave. It's mandatory." But in a nutshell, it's really not mandatory because you don't end up, they're not going to put you in jail or anything. But when it comes to that, they will tell you though and say you are on your own. Um, so just know if you do stay, if you ever face mandatory evacuation orders and you do choose to stay, just know that you are basically going to be on your own, because they are basically telling you that they don't want to come out. That where you're at is going to pretty much be too much of a high risk, and you're going to put first responders' lives in jeopardy, and everybody else, whoever else comes out, emergency responders, first responders, police, firemen, ambulance personnel, things like that. So, um, but people do it all the time, and then they call for help, and unfortunately, sometimes help doesn't come. So, but that's usually how it works. So. Hurricanes bring extreme rainfall. So, yes, warm air can hold more moisture than cool air. Yep, absolutely. In tropical cyclones, the air is particularly warm and can hold a tremendous amount of moisture. Yes, it does. The moisture cools as it rises and condenses into heavy rain, often much more than a typical low pressure system. These rains can occur not only at the coast but many miles inland, causing flooding that can continue for days or even weeks after a storm. Always follow evacuation orders and never drive into flooded roadways. If you live in a low-lying or flood-prone area, always have an evacuation plan before a storm begins. So again, extreme rainfall. So again, this is storm surge and flooding. These are actually the main causes of the damage from the hurricane. Yeah, you'll get wind damage and you'll get stuff like that, but they're actually the main damage is going to be the storm surge flooding. So the main damage comes from water. That is the main damage. And it talks about here, water, not wind, is the biggest threat. Though hurricanes are well known for strong and destructive winds, hurricane storm surge is the greatest threat. Storm surge is water that is pushed toward the shore by winds swirling around the system. This rise in water level can cause severe flooding in coastal areas. With much of the United States densely populated Atlantic and Gulf Coast costiness or coastlines less than 10 feet above mean sea level. So basically, they're saying if you're on the coast, you're basically only about 10 feet above the sea level. That's about the average. That's about the mean, is what they're talking about. So the danger from storm surges is tremendous. Historically, well over Half of direct fatalities from hurricanes that make landfall in the U.S. are from water hazards. Always follow evacuation orders. So again, what are they saying? Well, they're saying that water again is the biggest threat. Not the wind. It is the water that is the biggest threat. And there's a saying here: run from the water, hide from the wind. When you're at risk from flooding, it's important to get to high ground away from bodies of water and any flood prone areas. When there are high winds but no danger of flooding, rare in hurricanes, but also important during any storm. It's important to shelter in place in a steady structure away from doors and windows. This is why most evacuation orders are given for water, not wind. So again, if you're on the beach and stuff like that, they're going to be given mandatory evacuation orders because they'll be like, hey, your house is going to flood here. This storm surge is going to come up and it's going to flood. So we want you to get out of here. So one, you're safe, and two, we're safe. Um, but again, there are people who do not follow mandatory evacuation orders, and they do stay with their home. Happens again. It happens all the time. Every year it happens. So we won't get into that. This is basically telling us about what's happening here um, for cyclones. Fatalities around that. So stay safe after a storm passes. Hurricane-related hazards don't disappear when the water. I'm sorry, when the weather clears. After the storm, use generators safely. Be careful not to overexert yourself, and do not venture into storm-damaged areas before it is safe to do so. Many fatalities are reported after storms due to heart attacks, carbon monoxide poisoning. Because remember, you're going to have gas. Like if homes are destroyed or whatever else, and the gas company hasn't come turn off the gas, you're going to be smelling gas quite a bit. So, um, issue related to power outages and accidents. So so yes, it is very. There are a lot of different moving pieces that are happening with the hurricanes here. So again, this is they kind of hit us with a very very broad overview of what is happening here. But I do have another page that we're going to get a little bit deeper into it here. So um, take a look at that. Take a look at that here. Come on. There we go. So, so this one here gives us a little bit more a depth of what is going on and how they form. Um, so what we're going to be talking about here is just kind of what I explained a little bit too about coming off of kind of off of the west coast of Africa. So again, they're headed off the west coast, they're headed west, but coming out of the east, obviously, but they're headed west. Um, so how hurricanes form? This gets into a little bit more good scientific point of things here. So off the west coast of Africa, just north of the equator, a thunderstorm forms. So this is kind of giving us like an image of what is happening here. So again, a thunderstorm forms, just one single thunderstorm. It is just a typical towering thunderstorm cloud, but it might um, Debbie says, definitely there, John Boy. Some people don't like to leave their homes, especially when they're told to, and write your social security number on you so when you're found, the search team can find your butt. Wow. Yeah, and the people don't. People, I mean, obviously, I understand it's your property. It's what um, you've put your money into it, your time, your memories, and everything else. And some people have a very hard time of letting that go, of giving that up. So, uh, you know, um, I can't say one way or the other because I've never been put in that position. So I don't, I would always, um, at least, teach and preach to adhere to the mandatory evacuations. But you know, there's also the human element of it that says it's tough for people to give up on, to leave on something like that, because if you do come back and your whole house is gone, your whole everything's gone. I mean, you could have been in that house for 40, 50 years or something, and there goes all those memories. There goes all that. I mean, the memories would be there obviously, but there goes everything. So but I would always adhere. I would always teach and preach to adhere to the mandatory evacuations. But I am human, so I do understand the feeling of being attached to it, and so I do understand that point. But uh, I would always, and I will always say, follow the mandatory evacuations, first. So that is what I will always teach, preach, and recommend. Always follow the mandatory evacuations. So again, they're not in place to just kick you out. They're not in place. Um, it's not in place to say, hey, just for the fun of it. It's in place that says, hey, again, it's in place to protect again you, the homeowner or the renter or whomever, but it's also in place to protect again the first responders. So um, so again, if you choose to stay, again you are, and again this is what they will tell. They will basically say you are on your own, and we're not going to come help you because you are, you're going to put everybody at risk. Um, so could it be stubbornness? Yes. Could it be the fact that people don't want to leave and uh, I get that sentimental. I get that, but yes, at the end of the day, you just got to choose. You have to choose wisely, and you have to choose life over your property. So, um, and like Debbie just said here, yes, there are people who unfortunately leave their pets and animals behind because maybe they have four, and maybe they have a farm, maybe or not a farm. You're not gonna have a farm close to the close to the beach, but maybe they have some sort of multiple pets or multiple animals, and either maybe they don't have a vehicle, maybe they only have one vehicle, and they can't fit whatever. So people have to make the horrible choice to leave their pets behind. That's horrible, but I don't know. It would definitely be a hard, tough situation. That's for sure. So, and some people might do it on purpose. Some people might be like, oh, whatever. If they're here when we get back, they're here when we get back. I don't know. Or some people will say, I don't want to leave my animals, so I'm just going to stay here. Um, um, so, um, there's multitude of reasons. There's a multitude of reasons, but again, adhere to the evacuation orders because it makes it simpler. It makes the process. Um, it makes it more smooth. It makes the process simpler. It makes everybody who's involved because you remember these first responder personnel, um, they're going to be put through a lot. I mean, just with the people who are inland, like not with people who have the evacuation orders, but the people who don't are still going to get hit. There's still going to be damage to buildings, still going to be damage to structure. So what's it's called overload, right? It's called emergency response overload. So what's going to happen is this whole emergency response is going to be overloaded. There's going to be way too many disasters, way too many accidents, way too many different things that have happened that people need help with, and there's not going to be enough responders to come out and respond. Um, and that is even if everybody had even evacuated. So again, these first responders are dealing with everybody inland, in the non-evacuation zone that's going to get hit and get hurt, and buildings and everything else. But then they have to deal with the people who are in the evacuation zone, who they basically just said, "Hey, um, you're on your own." Um, but they still have to deal with that too in the aftermath. So again, it is going to be emergency response overload, and that's what happens during every hurricane. There's only so many first responder personnel. That's all there. I mean, there's only so many. So, um, So definitely choose wisely, and definitely choose to evacuate. So for sure, if you are told to evacuate. Thank you for being in here, chasing. Great to see you tonight. So again, so off the west coast of Africa, just north of the equator, a thunderstorm forms. It is just a typical towering thunderstorm cloud, but it might grow into something quite different, a hurricane. So again, this could form from just one thunderstorm. Perhaps several other thunderstorms form in the same area. So here we go. So now we have one thunderstorm. Now let's say we get a little cluster that starts forming right next to them. And perhaps all of those dark, towering thunderstorm clouds begin to rotate around an area of low atmospheric pressure or just a low pressure called a tropical depression. So this is if it gets the winds get to a certain level. So drawing enough energy from the warmth of the tropical ocean water, these circling thunderstorms might grow into a single tropical storm with winds blowing more than 39 miles per hour. If it grows even larger and winds swirl faster than 74 miles per hour, it is called a hurricane. So what are the right conditions for a hurricane to form? All the conditions must be just right in order for a hurricane to form, and those conditions only occur within certain latitudes during the warmest months of the year. What does a hurricane need? It needs warm water. Again, it needs 80 degrees water or above. It will not work with 79 degrees. It will not work with 79.4 degrees. It will not work with 79.7 degrees. It needs 80 degrees water or more. That's what it needs. So hurricanes take energy from the warm ocean. That is what they are. Remember, they are a heat engine. And the energy that they are dispelling, the mechanical energy that they are dispelling, is the wind. Um, so again, hurricanes take energy from the warm ocean water to become stronger. While a hurricane is over warm water, it will continue to grow. Because of low pressure at its center, again, this is a low pressure system. Winds flow toward the center of the storm, and air is forced upward. High in the atmosphere, winds flow away from the storm, which sustain the cycle of rising air from below. So that is what's happening with the low pressure system. Warm, moist air. So the air that rises needs to be warm and moist so that it forms heavy storm clouds. The air above tropical ocean waters is very warm and moist. So that's what starts forming the cumulonimbus clouds. Um, that helps with the warm. So that's what the warm, moist air is doing. Low wind shear. A hurricane also needs the winds outside the storm to be light. These winds steer the storm, but are not strong enough to disrupt it. So again, it needs these low shear wind shear to push it and steer it in that general direction. Again, if it had strong wind shear like a tornado, it would disrupt itself and collapse in on itself. The winds would be going in too many different directions, and it wouldn't get steered out in the water. It would just churn up and it would just fall apart. So that's why it needs low wind shear to steer it and push it um, out in the general direction that it's going. So how does a hurricane begin to form? So when humid air is flowing upward at a zone of low pressure over warm ocean water, the water is released from the air, creating clouds that grow into a strong storm. So we're talking about convection now. So if you remember, this is convection, how convection starts. As it rises, the air in a hurricane rotates. Air drawn into the center of a hurricane curves to the right in the northern hemisphere and toward the left in the southern hemisphere, due to, again to the Coriolis effect, a phenomenon in which winds curve because of the Earth's rotation. And again, the Earth is round, it is not flat. But again, I'm not going to get into that here. The storm will grow if there is a continuous supply of energy from warm ocean water and warm, moist air, and potentially turn into a tropical storm. So again, what is fueling this hurricane? It is the water. It is the water. Again, it needs water. It doesn't need land. It doesn't like land. It doesn't want land. It wants water. It doesn't like going into land because land disrupts it. Land makes it dissipate. Land takes away its energy. Land. So what it needs is it needs hot. It needs warm water. So the storm will grow if there's again a continuous supply of warm and ocean water, moisture, and potentially turn into a tropical storm. Storms weaken when they move over areas with cooler ocean water. So again, it doesn't like cooler water, and it doesn't like land. So why? Again, because it needs the warm water. It needs the water to fuel it. That's what's fueling it. The warm water keeps fueling it. So again, there isn't nearly as much energy in colder water to fuel the storm. So again, that's why 80 degrees is the demarcation line. So 80 degrees or warmer is what is able to fuel. Think about like your car, right? So it's like gasoline, right? So our engines, right, in our car, again, our when we turn it on, right, we need gasoline, or let's just say you have a gasoline car. Say it's not an electric car. Just say it's a gas car, right? So when we fire that switch or we push the button, it's gonna get that. It's in taking the gasoline and it's hitting that spark, right? So it needs a gas. Well, that's what the water is here. Because remember, this storm is a heat engine, and that's exactly what our cars are. Our cars are a heat engine that need fuel that create combustion. So hurricanes are what are known as heat engines. They need heat, and they need a form of fuel, and the fuel is the water. So think of a hurricane as an engine in our car, and think of the water as the gas. So as soon as it would just be the same thing. It's basically as soon as the hurricane goes over a landmass or into cooler water, it runs out of gas. And if you run out of gas, we know what happens. The car stops, right? The show stops. So that's the same. That's the same way. So it's the same way that happens there. So there isn't nearly as much energy in colder water to fuel the storm, nor is there much humidity in the air. Hurricanes will also weaken when they travel over land, because again, they're running out of fuel, they're running out of gas. Where do hurricanes form? And this is a great picture here. Let me blow this up here a little bit. Again, this is so if you look at this here, again, so the majority of ours, so I'll use my the majority of, so here's Africa, right? Right here. This is Africa. So if we look here, the majority of our hurricanes will because of the winds blow off from they blow out of the east, which means they're headed west. So here they will be headed west. This is what creates the disturbance, or the tropical wave, tropical disturbance, which the tropical disturbance, if it continues to grow, will become a tropical depression. If it continues to grow more, will become a tropical storm. If it continues to grow to the most mature spot it can get to, it becomes a hurricane. So again, it goes from a tropical wave, which is also called a tropical disturbance. Then it goes to a tropical depression. It goes to a tropical storm, and then it goes to a hurricane. So it's four. There are four paths of maturity. There are four different growing maturity stages. Four different maturity stages for it to hit in what's its final maturity stage, known as a hurricane. So if we look at this again, I'm gonna blow this up just a little bit more here. Let me take this off. Yeah. So actually, let me go back to real quick. So we go back here again. So if right here, so here's Africa. So if we look here, ours are the majority of the ones we get will start here, and they will travel west on this path, they'll keep headed west. Sometimes they'll curve up north. Sometimes they'll go a little bit more west and curve up north. Sometimes they'll stay south, and then they will kind of go this way as well. So, again, but the majority of the hurricanes that we get, or the majority of tropical cyclones that we get, are coming right here off of the coast here of Africa. So, this is this is the main spot that happens. Now, sometimes we do have storms that will come here right off of Mexico here, disturbances here, and they will we'll have a disturbance come out of here on Mexico. It'll be headed up here into the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America or whatever Gulf you want to call it, and they will also too form right in here, and sometimes they will jot right across Florida, or they will make a turn up north and go, depending on how the winds are, what kind of wind shear it has, or they will turn up north, or sometimes they'll actually spin up and turn back towards the west as well. So, but the majority that we get here in the United States come off right around this section here in Africa here. And again, that is to the winds coming out of the east, blowing and creating a thunderstorm or thunderstorms right here, creating that low pressure disturbance. So that is and then again here. So if you look right here, this is great. This is a great visual here. So if you look right here, hurricanes. It's called hurricanes here, and it's called hurricanes right here. Now look where I'm at. I'm still above the equator, right? We are still above the equator right here. So, but if we come back over here, I'm going to head back to the east here, but it'd be west of where I was just showing. It's going to be typhoons, and again, we are still north of the equator here. So we got typhoons out here. This is Japan. What else are we looking at over here? I think India is right over here as well. So we got some other. But so again, this right here is. Thank you for subscribing, Michael. Appreciate it for being here. Thank you so much. But nonetheless, so typhoons, they're called typhoons. Now remember, this is a tropical cyclone. It's the same thing. A hurricane, typhoon, it's the same thing. It's just a different word used. So here we go. So typhoons. It's typhoons around Japan. All the other countries are right in here. China. All the other they're called typhoons here. And again, we are north of the equator. Once we go south of the equator, again, so this is New Zealand right here. If we go off here to, the east of Australia, north of Australia, right around Australia, over to the west of Africa, they just call them cyclones. They're like, no, we're not going to call them hurricanes. No, we're not going to call them typhoons. You know what we want to call them? We just want to call them cyclones. So you know what? That's what they're called there. So that's what they do. So again, so we have hurricanes, we have typhoons, we have cyclones, but they all are the same thing. They're the exact same thing. I know it can be confusing. People will be like, why the heck is there not just one universal name for the storm? And that is because, meteorology, weather, folks, everybody just says, oh, call it what you want. So, but nonetheless, so we have three accepted names for the storm: hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones. Just all depends on where you're at geographically. So again, where for hurricanes to form, there needs to be warm ocean water and moist, humid air. These conditions occur in the tropical areas of the world, typically between 5 and 20 degrees latitude, north and south of the equator. However, hurricanes cannot form within 300 miles of the equator because there is no Coriolis effect there. That's why form 200 miles within the equator. These storms are called hurricanes in the Atlantic and are called typhoons and tropical cyclones in other parts of the world. So, yes, we talked about that. I'm not going to continue to beat that over the head. As the storm grows, it changes. As the storm grows, it goes through a series of stages. Again, maturity stages. First, it starts as a tropical disturbance. Then, with cyclonic circulation and faster wind speeds, it becomes a tropical depression. That is the second stage of maturity. If the wind keeps getting faster, it becomes a tropical storm. That is the third stage of maturity. If the winds keep getting faster, if tropical storm can grow into hurricanes if winds are more than 74 miles per hour. And hurricanes can grow into stronger hurricanes. So yeah, that's the maturest stage. That is stage 4. That is the most mature that it can get. However, only a small number of storms grow into tropical storms. Even fewer become hurricanes. This is because all the conditions listed above must occur at the same time and place, which is a pretty rare occurrence. Only about 10 tropical storms form per year, and only a few of those turn into hurricanes. So again, got to have the right conditions happening at the same place at the same exact time. So that is what has to be going on there. So, but nonetheless, only about 10 tropical storms per year, and only a few of those storms turn into hurricanes. So, again, it's very, very rare for a hurricane to even happen. And again, why is that? Because again, all of these conditions have to be met all at the same time. They are all happening in real time together. That is what's going on. So storm stages, we just went through that. We'll just kind of talk about it briefly here, though. The classifications in the table below are based on the wind speeds in the storm, not the size of the storm. Now, some hurricanes can get as far as 1,000 miles in width. So, I mean, some of these hurricanes can get extremely, extremely large. If you were to put them on the map, if you went from one end of it to the other end, it'd be like 1,000-mile stretch. So it's pretty ridiculous how wide some of these hurricanes can get. Classifications in the table below are based on the wind speeds in the storm, not the size of the storm. Hurricanes that look small on radar can have a very high wind speeds, and large storms can have low wind speeds. So again, the size of the storm is not telling the story that what's going on. Wind speeds in hurricanes are often measured in knots. Compared to a mile per hour, knots are a little bit faster. 1 knot is equal to 1.15 miles per hour. For example, if the wind is blowing at 10 knots, that is going to be 11.5 miles per hour. So, again, tropical disturbance, thunderstorms with light cyclonic circulation, tropical depression. So this is going to be stage 2. Wind speed between 20 and 34 knots, or 23 to 39 miles per hour. Tropical storm, wind speeds between 35 and 64 knots, or 40 to 73 miles per hour. And a hurricane, stage 4 maturity, wind speed greater than 64 knots, or 74 miles per hour. So, this breaks it down a little bit more deep as to what is going on there. So again, we have low wind shear, we have heat, we have moisture, and again, the wind shear is pushing the hurricane in the direction that it needs to be going. It is what is driving it. So, hopefully you guys learned a little bit about the formation, about the majority of the ones that we get come off Africa. The fact that it needs warm water, it has to be 80 degrees again, water temperature or higher. It has to be. That is the demarcation line. That is what has been scientifically proven. That is what has been scientifically studied, looked at. So once they even hit, again, 79.9 or 79.8, whatever, they start losing energy. So, and some folks in some publications will also say 81 degrees. So I've seen different publications have and different studies say between 80 and 81. But yes, so it is. So there's different. Um, there's just a little bit different competing theories between 80 degrees and 81 degrees. But the most known accepted is 80 degrees and above. So that is what is accepted. So again, you need 80-degree water. Remember, water is that's the gas, that's the gasoline, that's the fuel. You keep providing the fuel, you keep pumping the fuel in, it's not going to run out of gas. Take the gas away from it, then it's going to run out of gas. So again, how do you take the gas away from a hurricane? You put it over colder water, or you put it over land, and that's how you take the gas away from it. Because again, it is what is known as a heat engine. When it comes to thermodynamics and when it comes to physics, it's known as a heat engine. Just like the engine in our cars, our car the engines in our cars are heat engines. They need fuel, just like this heat engine hurricane needs. It needs fuel. It needs warm water. So, I think I just saw Libby ask a question. Maybe it is still coming later in the lesson. If so, defer until then. But do hurricanes have much lightning before landfall? I will get into that because I will talk about that when I talk about tornadoes here, that's going to be coming up. So, great question, though, Libby. So yeah, give me a few minutes and I will answer that for you. Uh, but besides that, any other questions, comments, concerns, feedback, any other insight that you might have when it comes to hurricanes? But that is basically going to be the formation of hurricanes. What's really happening there meteorologically? What's going on there? Inside of the hurricane, how hurricanes are forming, why they stay together for, and how it only takes one thunderstorm to create a massive hurricane. Um, Again, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll give it a minute here or so, and then I'll jump into the next part. Which actually, the next part is actually going to be tornadoes. So, Libby, I will answer your question that you asked there about lightning. So, and if you haven't yet, please like and please subscribe. Again, if you are new here, thank you for tuning in to uh, John Boy Severe Weather Lab Plus Education. So tonight's educational lesson is about hurricanes. Yes, it is hurricane season. Yes. I don't know where all of you live at who are watching. I know where some of you live at, but I don't know where all of you live at. So maybe you live in a hurricane prone area. So it's always good to stay abreast of hurricanes and the type of damage they cause, and good to understand what's going on there. So when it comes to that, um, but nonetheless, um, it takes a lot of energy to keep hurricanes going, and again, all that energy is the water there. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. But again, thank you all for tuning in, and please like if you haven't yet. Please subscribe. Uh, Again, thank you for being here at John Boy Severe Weather Lab Plus Education. If you are new, you will find live severe weather coverage, and you also find live teachings and live educational lessons about weather, about all different cool stuff, right? Hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, lightning, hail, all other cool stuff. So when it comes to that, um, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll give it like another minute or so, and then jump into the next part here. So about tornadoes in hurricanes. So um, Again, appreciate y'all being here. Jump into this here real quickly. Again, thank you for joining in here. If you are just joining in, thank you for being here. The John Boy Severe Weather Lab Plus Education. Again, best of both worlds for you guys, and the best of both worlds for me. I appreciate everybody who's in here. Always appreciate all the regulars. Appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody who is new here joining in as well. But please like and please subscribe if you have not already. Highly appreciate it. It helps me with the algorithm. Helps me. So very thankful. And again, like I mentioned before, I did apply to again become a YouTube partner. Again, I'm still just waiting to hear back. They said it could take up to a month for them to get through to get because I'm sure they probably got thousands upon thousands of channels that they have to vet and review. So that's why they probably just blank it out and say, hey, give us a month, at the most, and we will get back to you. So, but part of that process, part of it becoming a YouTube partner program, and again, becoming a YouTube partner is they review your channel, make sure you don't have any strikes, any copyright strikes, any community strikes. So they make sure that you are in line, with their policies and their guidelines. So they review that. They review your content to make sure, obviously you're not, of course, probably making any hate stuff or whatever else. But it goes through that process. So they basically vet you before they say yes to allowing you into the program. So um, hopefully that doesn't take a month. Hopefully it takes a lot sooner than that. So, but again, that's what they say on their website. That's what they say. As soon as you hit and apply, it says typically takes about a month for us to review your channel. So, but hopefully it doesn't take a month. Hopefully it takes less than that. So, but nonetheless, so let's get into tornadoes here. So, why do tornadoes? Let me blow this up. I don't know why. Sometimes it's just too far away. So, why do tornadoes happen in hurricanes? Well, when hurricanes make landfall, they can spawn tornadoes, and yes, we do know this, right? And if you look at this right front quadrant here, right? So if we split this hurricane in half or in four quadrants, vertically and horizontally here, this right front quadrant is, I don't know if always, I should use always, but let's just say 99.9% of the time, this right front quadrant is going to be the troublemaker. So, what is happening here as to why tornadoes can spawn in hurricanes? So, not only are you facing a hurricane, you're going to be facing the eye or in a lot of the flooding and everything else. Now it might spawn a tornado. So you might get double whammied, right? You might get triple whammied. You might get a tornado. You might get flood, and then you might get the eye of the hurricane. So you might get triple whammied. So nonetheless, the friction over land. Remember, friction over land is much stronger than the friction over water. Where the hurricanes form, friction force quickly weakens the farther you get from the ground. So what's happening again? It's hitting the friction of the land. So again, this is playing a huge part as to why we can get tornado genesis to happen. So again, what do we need? Because remember, right now, a hurricane is not vertical winds. A hurricane is horizontal winds, right? And for an updraft, we need vertical winds, right? For a tornado, we need vertical. We need lift. We need vertical winds. We need better wind shear. But right now, in a hurricane, all of the winds are horizontal. They're all spinning horizontally around each other. They're not. It's not vertically lifted up. So, but that's where friction comes into play, and that's where we can start to get vertical lift. When a hurricane makes landfall, the winds near the ground slow down, while the upper level winds keep their momentum. So here, this is what's happening here. So the winds near the ground slow down, while the upper level winds keep their momentum. So what's happening? The winds are slowing down on the bottom, but the winds on top are still flowing quick. So then you create the shear, you create greater shear. That is what's happening now. So now you can create vorticity here. So the change in the wind speed and sometimes direction. So again, sometimes direction. This is what creates the wind shear. With height is called a wind shear. So again, as I've talked about and have taught many times, for spin, right, for the slim model, the slim method, spin, lift, instability, moisture. This is where we're going to start getting the spin at that we need for tornado formation, for tornado genesis to start to begin. And again, this is all due to the friction over land. So this can also lead to a column of air rotating that can generate a weak tornado. So again, this all due to the friction helping. So the winds start to slow down at the bottom, at the base, more towards the ground of the hurricane. But at the higher levels in the hurricane, they are still keeping their momentum and moving forward. So the tornadoes spawned by hurricanes typically occur in the right front quadrant of the storm, and usually within 12 hours of landfall. Because what happens is you have the outer bands that are, hundreds of miles away from the center of the eye and everything else, if not 1,000 miles away from the center of the eye. So massive, right? It's just a massive amount of distance that it is away from the storm. Um, So why is it the right front quadrant? Why is that usually the most troublemaker? Why is that usually where we see that? Well, that's because tornadoes spawned by hurricanes typically occur in the right front quadrant, where the wind shear difference due to friction from land is the greatest. So this is where the greatest, again, this is where the greatest friction is. This is where the greatest wind shear is going to be at. So the right front quadrant is usually the troublemaker. That's usually what's causing the most problems when it comes to tornadoes. So the tornadoes are very often embedded in rain bands, and they are. They are. That's what's happening. They're inside these rain bands, and unfortunately, meteorologists cannot accurately predict if a hurricane will produce tornadoes. No, we can't even predict tornadoes by themselves, by alone. How are we going to be able to predict them inside of a hurricane? That's just not going to happen. It's not feasible. So when it comes to that, so again, so that is how on a very broad level, that is how tornadoes form in hurricanes. Again, it is the friction that land. It is the friction that is being created there. It is being able to. It is a low. The bottom winds of near the ground are being they're slowing down, but the upper level winds are still keeping their momentum. So then now we can create wind shear. So we have, and then you think about the other three, right, of the slim model, right, for tornado genesis. So now that we have wind shear, we have spin, right? Well, we have lift. Lift is there because it's a low pressure system. So we have a low pressure system there that creates lift. Then we have instability. We have instability there because this is a storm. It's creating instability. The friction also creates instability as well. And then we have moisture, right? Because we have rain, we have dew points, we have higher. So we have all of the ingredients for tornadoes start to come into play. there as soon as we get the wind shear. So again, the wind shear is the missing piece. It really is the missing piece until we get to land. That is where land helps create the wind shear, and that's what kicks up tornadoes. So those that is the reason why we will see tornado watches, tornado warnings, and usually they are, again, not EF4s, not EF5s. I don't think an EF4 or EF5 has ever come out of a hurricane. But nonetheless, EF3s are, EF2s are damaging, EF1s are damaging. So I know they say weaker tornadoes, but to me, a weaker tornado still is still damaging somebody's life or damaging somebody's property and is affecting somebody's life negatively. So, um, so I don't know if it's the right thing to say weaker tornadoes. Yes, weaker tornadoes on the scale, on the Fujita scale, right? On the enhanced Fujita scale, but nonetheless, from that, um, you just have to think about even EF1s and EF2s are still doing damage and still affecting somebody's life negatively. So, but yes, definitely weaker when it comes to the EF5, right? Or sorry, to the or to the EF scale. So, and again, this is what usually when Florida does get hurricanes, this is what pushes Florida's tornadoes numbers way up. Because on average, as you see here, Florida has about 60 tornadoes a year, or sorry, had 60 tornadoes per year during 1999 to 2019. So basically 20 years. They are mostly associated with hurricanes. Compare this to Wisconsin, which averages 24, Minnesota averaging 40, and Michigan, which averages 15 tornadoes per year. So again, Florida's tornado numbers are always skyrocketed, and again, it is due to when they do have hurricanes that do come over land there. So that is basically why tornadoes do happen in hurricanes for. So yes. So Libby had a question about lightning, right? Now, lightning in a hurricane is extremely, extremely rare. Very, very rare. It does happen, but that is usually a red flag sign when it does happen. It actually means if you ever see lightning in a hurricane or lightning is picked up and detected in a hurricane, it actually means that the hurricane is gaining strength. So, usually means it's reorganizing, things of that nature. So if you ever see if you ever see lightning in a hurricane, or it's detected again on radar, satellite, whatever it may be, and actually mean it's actually a red flag. It's actually a bad sign, meaning that it is intensifying. So, but nonetheless, you won't see lightning in a hurricane usually outside of that, and that is due to um, because usually for lightning you have ice and particles, right? So um, if I remember correctly, tribal electrification is as I believe the name, if I remember from all my studies before. Tribal electrification. When ice and particles within storms, um, they collide and they build the electrical charge. So you need ice and you need water particles to build that electrical charge up. Well, in a hurricane, there's not any ice, right? There's nothing that's building that up. So, um, because in typical um, storms, right? Typical, you have a vertical updraft, right? So when they have a vertical updraft, they go up higher into the atmosphere to get the ice, right, and get the particles, and they collide, and that's what's creating the electrical charge there. But in a hurricane, you don't have an updraft. We have horizontal winds. We don't have vertical winds. We don't have an updraft. So that's why it's not hitting high up enough in the atmosphere there to be making lightning all the time. So again, that is basically the gist of it. That's the broad sense of why it doesn't produce lightning for. So, but again, it can and it does, and if it does, it is mainly near the eye of the storm when it does. But again, It has been seen before, and it has been detected on radar before. But again, it's usually a red flag. It usually actually means it's either it's reorganizing and getting stronger. But nonetheless, 99.9% of the time, you're not going to have any lightning with the hurricane. So, and that again is a lot of it again is due to the way that again tribal electrification, the collision of ice particles and ice and water particles, um, it's just not able to take place. So that is why. So hopefully that answers your question there, Libby. But yes, if we do see it, if you do hear it, or I'm sorry, you can't hear lightning, but if you do see lightning, or it is detected, that is why. Um, um, to know that it means it's getting a little bit, it's getting stronger. So, but again, it's very, very uncommon, very, very uncommon. Um, but again, that is the science behind that is the meteorology behind it. Again, it is called tribal electrification, and that is when ice and that is when water particles collide with each other to create that electrical charge. And again, if you're just tuning in, that charge cannot happen or is not happening because hurricanes are not producing vertical winds; they are producing horizontal winds. So again, in a normal updraft, in an normal storm that has a strong updraft, it's creating, it's having ice and particles collide into each other to create the electrical charge. But if there is no updraft, you don't have any ice and water particles that are colliding with each other. So again, that is why that is happening. So that is why hurricanes, again, 99.9% of the time, they will not have lightning in them at all. So good. Thank you very much, Libby. Great question. Very great question. So, because a lot of people think, oh, wow, you're just going to see, it's a huge storm. There's probably all kinds of tons of lightning there. No, it's actually not. So, it's a windbag for sure. It's a rainy for sure. But lightning is just not there. Very, very rare. All right, let's move it. We will now move on to um, looking at what's called the Saffir-Simpson scale. So this is what they do to say, hey, this is a category 1, a category 2, a category 3, a category 4, or a category 5. And again, once we get to cat 3, they just shorten it and they say cat. They don't say category. They say, well, this is a cat 3, this is a cat 4, or this is a cat 5. That is a major hurricane. That is what the NWS has it labeled as. So what is category 1, or what is a cat 1 hurricane? A cat 1 is 74 to 95. Some damage, roofs, gutters, and siding. So cat 2 is 96 to 110. Extensive damage, major roof and siding failure, mass tree damage. So now we're starting to get into major now. So major. Cat 3, 111 to 129. Devastating damage, well-built homes, loose roof decking. Cat 4, 130 to 156. Catastrophic damage, severe wall and roof failure. Cat 5, which is the highest you can get. So Cat 5 is like an EF5, right? They're very, very rare, extremely rare, and I'll talk about that here on my next in the next part of this lesson, just to show you just how rare Cat 5 hurricanes are. So 157 miles per hour. This is for Cat 5 hurricane. 157 miles per hour or higher. Catastrophic. A high percentage of framed homes destroyed. And this is created by Herbert Saffir and Robert Simpson. That's why it's Saffir-Simpson scale. That's why it's called for. So again, this is what is used to rate hurricanes. This is the equivalent to the Fujita scale for tornadoes. So for tornadoes, we have the enhanced Fujita scale. For hurricanes, we have the Saffir-Simpson scale. So it's based off of, and as you can see here, it is based off of wind only since 2009. So this is a pure wind driven type of um, what you want to call it. It's not by damage or anything like that. It's just by wind. So classification. So again, so Cat 3 or higher, and then that is what is major hurricane there. So Saffir Simpson scale for hurricanes, and again for tornadoes, it is the Fujita scale, so or enhanced Fujita scale now is what it's called. And again, Cat 5 is the equivalent to EF5 in notoriety, in damage, and destruction, and things like that. So all right, let's move on to Cat 5. So interesting, huh? Interesting stuff here. So not only here is how this is broken down. So storms will reach some hurricanes will reach Cat 5 uh, strength and Cat 5 maturity or Cat 5 level over water, so they're not hitting land at all. So uh, again, that is rare in and of itself. But what is very rare is an actual Cat 5 hitting the US. And I'll get into how rare that actually is. And that is extremely rare. Like beyond rare. So it's rare for a hurricane to actually become a Cat 5, but it's actually even more rare for it to have for it to still be at Cat 5 intensity and hit the United States. So we'll skip a little bit of this. This is talking about last year, though. Kind of a cool, interesting tidbit here, though. But last year in 2025, there were actually 3 hurricanes that actually hit Category 5 status last year. So that is a lot of hurricanes in one season to be Cat 5s. Let's skip a little bit of that. So again, we're talking that's the most Cat 5s that in one season in 20 years because yes, the last time that we seen this many Cat 5 hurricanes was back in 2005. So and I'll show you that here. So if you look at this map, or I'm sorry, not map. That's weird. If you look at this is all of the Category 5 hurricanes ever that they have gone back and said this qualifies as a Cat 5 hurricane. So if you look there, you are basically looking at about 45 names. There is about 45 names on this list, and this goes back to the 1920s. This goes back to 1924 through 2025, so we're talking 101 years. So basically 101 years, there are only 45 hurricanes that have ever reached Cat 5 status. So again, this is why Cat 5s are basically the equivalent to EF 5s. Extremely rare. It takes a whole lot to get these storms to become a Cat 5. But some of the notable ones, right? We got Andrew in 1992. If we go back a little bit, Camille, that was a very one that there's a lot of documentaries on. That was in 1969. Another one that people talk about a lot, even before Katrina, was Ivan in 2004. That was a big one. Obviously, Katrina in 05. Now, but that did not hit the United States as a Cat 5. It actually hit the United States as a Category 3. But again, these are all the ones that have actually hit Cat 5 status, but not necessarily hit the United States as being a Cat 5 storm. So obviously Katrina, right? That's obviously known for reasons. Another one just recently, Michael. Michael was a huge one recently, 2018. And then it's a couple ones from a couple years ago, right? Burrow, Milton. We had Lee before that, Ian. And then we had 3 last year, Aaron, Humberto, and Melissa. But some of these storms obviously live in infamy for obviously reasons that, a lot for the damage that they caused and for the destruction that they caused. So, but what you're looking at here, these names, again, these names are the only hurricanes that have ever reached Cat 5 status. And that is either over the water, and they are, I mean, that is, obviously over the water. And only a few of these out of this whole list ever hit the United States while still remaining a Cat 5. So 45, only 45, only 45 hurricanes have ever been a Category 5 hurricane. So, we'll get into a little bit of that. Um, and just like tornadoes, right? Just like EF, like we just went that huge long drought, that very long drought when compared to when we for EF5 tornadoes, right? We went through that long drought from 2013, right? 2013 to 2025, so basically 12 years, right? Well, the same thing happens in hurricane land as well. Sometimes they'll go a decade without a Cat 5 ever being, without a hurricane ever reaching Cat 5 status or things like that. So they do have droughts as well, just like tornadoes have droughts as well. Uh, so kind of some similarities there as well. And then if you're not familiar, the most common, they are most common in the peak of hurricane season, which is September, which you will see here. September, if you do not know, September is usually the most active month for hurricanes. It just is. It's like May for tornadoes. So if you are comparing, we're doing comparisons here. So if we are comparing two tornadoes here, tornadoes are the most active, typically, historically. Uh, data, so in May, in the month of May, well, hurricanes are the most active in the month of September. So September is for hurricanes is like May for tornadoes. So usually September is the most active month. And as you can see here, 27 out of the 45 Category 5 hurricanes have all happened in September. So well more than half have happened just in the month of September. So again, September is a month that is usually very active for hurricanes. We just get into that. We talked about that. We're not going to beat that overhead. That was about tropical waves. We're talking about where this is just a map of, again, where all of these hurricanes EF5s have been at, and um, where they register them as EF5s at. So, um, and this is what it says. And then again, this is a good point here. So you might ask yourself, well, how come they don't hold on to intensity very long? Well, hurricanes don't hold on to Cat 5 intensity for long. On average, a hurricane maintains Cat 5 status for just under 24 hours, so it's not even a Cat 5 for a day. Then you might ask yourself, well, why? If it's out over warm water, if it has enough strength, whatever, what is it? That's because intense hurricanes typically undergo one or more eye wall replacement cycles. So again, just kind of like tornadoes, right? You know how tornadoes cycle, right? Well, the storm cycles, right? So kind of like how the parent supercell of a tornado cycles, the eye wall cycles as well. So during one of these, the hurricane's intense ring of thunderstorms around its eye is surrounded by a new outer ring. When that happens, the hurricane's wind intensity drops temporarily as the former eye wall is choked off. It usually intensifies again when the new outer eye wall is pulled inward, leading to a larger hurricane. So again, that is uh, that is what is going on there. So, but the cool stat here: several Category 5 hurricanes reached that intensity multiple times during their lifetime. So Hurricane Allen, Hurricane Isabel, and Hurricane Ivan each soared to Cat 5 intensity three separate times. So three separate times throughout their journey, over the ocean, they became Cat 5. They went Cat 5, Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 4. So they kept Um, that's pretty wild. That's really, really rare for a hurricane to reach Cat 5 status. I mean, not just one time, but three times. That is absolutely rare. So, the November 1932 Cuba hurricane, 78 hours, and a Hurricane Irma in 2007, 77 hours, spent the longest combined time at Cat 5 strength, according to NOAA's database. So, the Cuba hurricane 1932, 78 hours, and Irma 2007 for 77 hours. So here's the thing. Here is the thing. Out of those 45, um, out of the 45 Cat 5 hurricanes, there have only been four. Only four have ever hit the United States as a Cat 5. That's it. Only four out of the 45. So, beyond rare. Extremely rare. So, again, right? It's rare for a hurricane to even form, right? It has to go through all the four mature stages. It has to go through a tropical wave. It has to go through tropical depression. It has to go through a tropical storm. It has to now it's become a hurricane. Well, remember back in that tropical wave, every single part of moisture and instability and all everything all had to happen all at the same time in order for that disturbance to take off and mature. Most of them just fizzle out and they end up nothing ever happens. Like the disturbance just falls apart and it doesn't even become a depression or anything like that. So not only does it make it through the mature stage to its four mature stages, well, now it's matured to a Cat 5, which in itself is extremely rare out of all the hurricanes ever recorded, um, which has only been 45 of them. Well, now we get even smaller. We get even more minute down, down to the level. So now we are at four hurricanes out of every named hurricane, out of every storm that has ever been named. Only four have ever hit the United States as a Cat 5. So, only four hurricanes on record have made landfall in the mainland U.S. at Category 5 intensity. The most recent of these was Hurricane Michael. And you guys might remember this because this was only about 8 years ago. So, Hurricane Michael, if you don't, please Google it. If you go back and look, did tremendous amount of damage there in the Florida Panhandle. And that was what was almost like a later season storm. That was in October of 2018. The others include Andrew. I'm sure you guys probably all know about Andrew, Hurricane Andrew down in Florida, down in Miami. That was completely annihilation, or a lot of annihilation down there. So that's a very very well talked about storm there. So we have Michael, we have Andrew, we have Camille, and we have the Labor Day hurricane in the Florida Keys. That's it. That is it. Four. And if you look, if you go, okay, well, the first one was in 1935. Now this is back to what's recorded, back to what they can find and put on record. So 1935. Okay, within about 34 years later, we got Camille. So so we're about three decades later. Well, then, if you look at from 69 to 92, we're talking a little over, just a little over 2 decades later. Well, if we go from 92 to 2018, again, we're talking about 2.5 decades. Um, so 2018 was the last one. So if we kind of consider it, kind of stay on this pattern, we're talking that was 8 years ago. So this pattern is about 2.5 decades is about the pattern. So so maybe sometime around 2043, 2040, if we stay on this pattern, might be another Cat 5 that hits the United States or somewhere within that vicinity. So, if we're just playing the averages of what's going on. But again, only four of these have ever been, I'm sorry, not EF5. Only four of these have ever been Cat 5 hurricanes that hit the United States. So we got Labor Day hurricane, which they didn't even name. There was no name for that one, so they just called it the Labor Day hurricane. There was Camille in 1969. There was Andrew, and then there was Michael. That's it. that is all. So that is basically hurricanes in a nutshell. So hope you guys learned, some good information. Hopefully, I was able to explain that to you and able to give you some good learning. I know it's late. I know it's later, uh, but nonetheless, um, still, I guess never too late to learn about weather and learn about hurricanes as well. So, but yes, just know Cat fives are extremely, extremely rare. So just think of Cat fives as EF fives. They just don't happen. They just do not happen. So I mean, they happen, right? But they're just extremely, extremely rare. So, um, but yeah. So hopefully you learned. Hope you guys learned some stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your time. Hopefully, but yeah, that's the topic. The topic of hurricanes. It's a great topic. Again, we got hurricane season. We're technically already in hurricane season, but it really doesn't really start firing off until really like late August, September. Again, really things don't really start going until next month. Um, but September is usually you can kind of think of August like April, and you can think of September like May for when it comes to like if we're doing things like comparing with tornadoes. So that's typically how it works. So again, we learned a lot. We learned about why lightning doesn't really ever exist in hurricanes. We learned about the formation of hurricanes, what they need, the fuel that's needed. That it can only take one thunderstorm to create a hurricane. So again, you need a moisture, you need a warm air, you need a fuel, and you need a low level shear or low wind shear to help drive it and steer it along. So we learned about that. We learned about a little bit of the science behind it. We learned about the water temperature. You need 80 degrees or more. So great stuff. Great stuff there. We learned about impacts that flooding, storm surge is actually way more damaging than what actually the wind is. Storm surge and flooding cause a lot more havoc than what the wind does itself. So, um, but again, take away the gasoline from the hurricane, the gasoline being the water. You take the water away, you take the gasoline away, and it runs out of gas. When it hits either colder water, excuse me, let me say, if you take the warm water away, if you take 80-degree water away or warmer away from the hurricane, you will cause the hurricane to starve itself to run out of fuel, and they won't have any fuel left. So two ways that hurricanes fall apart is they hit colder water or they hit land. And again, that is because it is the gas is has now been run dry. The gas is all run out, and it can no longer fuel itself. So we learned about some great things. We learned about why tornadoes happen in hurricanes. We learned about some pretty good in depth about how they form. The Saffir-Simpson scale. So basically the equivalent to the Fujita scale if we're talking about tornadoes. And learned about Cat 5s. So again, just how rare that stuff is. So it's again, it's very good to understand what we learned and how we can take that and continue to learn off that process. So some people are more into hurricanes than what they are tornadoes. Some people are more into tornadoes than what they are about hurricanes, and so on and so forth. But hurricanes are very, very strong. They are, and again, it's another cool fact. And you can look it up. You can keep me honest. But they have been known to stretch 1,000 miles. So think about 1,000 mile wide hurricane. That is ridiculous. So very, very. So they can be very, very broad. They can be very small too. So don't let the size fool you. It's not the size of the storm, like the actual overall huge size, is not telling you how strong that storm actually is. You have to get down to the low pressure. You have to get down to the eye, and that is really what's telling you how strong that storm is. So But again, it doesn't matter if it's got wind, if it's got rain bands 800 miles from its middle of its eye, or if it's got rain bands 300 miles from the middle of its eye. That doesn't matter. Well, all that matters is how intense is that eye. How intense is that? So don't be fooled just by the size of that. Um, looks like Libby says, I appreciate that you do the bullet points at the end of the lesson to help each of those things stick in our minds. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Yes, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm hitting bullet points right now. So the things that we learned, right? Things that we can take away from what we learned, and you can teach that to if you learn something new, you can teach it to somebody else and help them, and then they can teach it to somebody else, and then they can teach it to somebody else. So teaching is contagious, and it keeps going and going. So, but yeah. So again, hurricanes. Again, the majority for the U.S. come out of West Africa. The majority that we get, and they will travel. They'll travel west and hit Florida, hit Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, um, and they have actually gone up even further north before and hit New York, but very very few. But I will probably end up doing maybe a little bit of an in-depth session on it. If you guys remember Hurricane Sandy, that did a lot of damage up in around the New York Mid Atlantic area. And again, that is very very rare because it started. Again, if you get to the water up there is super cold. It's not super cold, but it's not 80-degree temperature when you get up to around New York area. So, but nonetheless, Hurricane Sandy did stay. She held on the best that she could. She held on, but yeah, I was actually thinking about doing that because um, that is kind of a good teaching approach. So, yeah, oh, yes, we got Mike in here from Virginia Beach. Yeah, thank you, Mike, for being in here. I appreciate that. I can definitely help you out. Yeah, and then I'll jump back into this. But yeah, we just finished learning about. I just finished teaching about hurricanes. Um, what definitely will help you out there, Mike. So you are in Virginia Beach. Yes, let me pull up my weather app here, and I will take a look for you. Uh, so Mike from Virginia Beach. Um, yes, sir. I try my best to remember everybody's name that I can. That at least I know that I'm on a first name basis with. So, but I do try to remember everybody's name. So, um, a lot of times you won't know anybody's first name. You'll just know them by their handle. You just know them by their YouTube handle. Um, but yes, thank you, Mike, for being in here. Yep, give me a second here and let me pull up my app real quick. All right, Mike, you still there, buddy? Take a look what you have here. You find. All right, you're in Virginia Beach. Yep, I see you. So, Mike, if you see on my screen here, so what we're looking at here, right? We're not looking at anything severe at the moment, so that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. And we don't have anything severe coming down the pipeline or upstream, right? So we don't have anything that's upstream coming downstream to you because you're downstream from the storms. Uh, So, but the this storm right here, this is going to does have some lightning and thunder. It actually does not have any, which is a great thing. It does not have any hail that I see, at least. Let me check the DBZ. Uh, yeah, you're only about 50 dBz. That was about the highest I saw there, 50 dBz. So what that is, that's just taking an indication to look at how strong the rain is there, or possibly hail there. But definitely, I don't see any hail. I don't see any. Um, Sorry, give me 1 second here. Don't see any. Um, so yes, no hail, just some heavy rain here. If you were having hail, this would be this DBZ would be up around like 60ish. A little bit. It can't really go off the DBZ though. What you have to go off is more of like this would be more pink and more getting darker and dark black. So, but nonetheless, you should be getting some heavy rain and possibly some lightning as well. Um, so definitely some heavy rain, some lightning. Let me take a look at velocity just to make sure there's no rotation. There's nothing like that. Okay, so just to help ease your mind there. So velocity again is what gives us a look inside of the storms to see if there is any type of rotation, anything like that. Because we don't want to have right. We don't want to see any rotation. That's not what we want to see happening. We want to just make sure that these are just straight line and that they are moving just that the winds are moving in one direction. So. Um, but nonetheless, you should be experiencing some heavy rain and some lightning as well. But let's go into velocity, and as you can see here, uh, so Mike, there is no at least what velocity is shown. There's no circulation. There's nothing like that. So there's no like tornado indicators, no tornado parameters. All this wind, this is just all wind that's all going in one direction. So that's what we want. We want wind to just go in one direction. We don't want wind to go in multiple directions, because if wind starts going in multiple directions, then obviously we know that it's spinning, that it's rotating, and we don't want that. So if you see reds here, this red is all going away from the radar, and that means that what that means is it's all one color. So it's, again, that's good. We don't want any greens to show up. We don't want anything like that. So again, this is a good sign. This is very good. This is just a typical what you would typically see. So, but yes, and then so there's nothing, no tornado parameters, no spin, no rotation, nothing like that. So, um, so you yes, but you should be getting, again, you should be getting some heavy rain, a little bit of wind, um, but besides that, the highest wind that I'm getting is about 28 ish. So maybe a little bit of wind, maybe a little bit of wind. So, yes, and then all the storms back here too are just they're all are blowing in one direction. So, uh, so what we see here, this is all a great sign. Again, this is velocity. So we're looking at velocity, and velocity is telling us which way the wind is going, and the wind is going all in one direction. So that's awesome. That's what we want to see when it comes to that. Because otherwise, if because thankfully there are no severe thunderstorm warnings. You don't even have there's not even a special weather statement on these. So a special weather statement would say, hey, there's 40-mile-per-hour wind. There's maybe a half inch of hail, things like that. There's not even any, not even a special weather statement. So that's a win. So again, so there's no warnings, there's no weather statement. All the winds are blowing in the same direction. So yeah, so to me, this what you have going on right now is just a typical run of the mill summertime storm. So nothing that is of concern, nothing that is uh, to worry about or anything like that. So if that helps calm your anxieties, Mike, I hope it does because it is all looking just like a typical storm, and the storms back here are just typical looking as well. So, but nonetheless, right now that is what's looking for you, Mike. So looks looking just like a typical summertime storm in Virginia Beach. But again, you should be having some heavy rain and a little bit of wind. But besides that, nothing that is severe, nothing that even has a statement on it. So hopefully that helps you, Mike. Hopefully, helps you to know that again, just a typical summertime storm there. So thank you, Thiago, for subscribing. Thank you for being in here. Highly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Highly appreciate you being here. Highly appreciate that. So, Mike, I am using WeatherWise. This is the WeatherWise app. I'll show it to you right here. It's this guy right here, WeatherWise. I use WeatherWise a lot. I use Weather. There's also a great app too called Weatherfront. That's only though if you have Apple. Right now, you can only get it on Apple. Um, it's still not out on Android yet. You can also get the PC version of it as well. So there's WeatherWise. I use that a lot. I use Weatherfront. Another app is Radar Omega. You can also look at Radar too if you have like the Weather Channel app. There's Mike. I mean, dude, seriously, man, there's like 100 different apps. Really, I mean, there's tons of different apps. I use the ones that I like, and but I like WeatherWise a lot, and I like Weatherfront a lot as well. So, but yeah, WeatherWise, I appreciate that. Here too, Mike, I appreciate that. But what I see, yeah, these are just your typical summertime storms. So, nothing, no rotation, nothing to be concerned about when it comes to a tornado or anything like that. These are just your typical storms, and looks like they are headed basically off, out to sea. Eventually, in the next couple hours, they will be out over the ocean. So, but yeah, so Mike says, I'm just wondering how I can know if these turn crazy or not because the first storm passed me. The way you would know if they turn crazy or not, again, is if you have warnings, like if you have any type of warning set up with an app. Um, so again, if you have like WeatherWise, if you have the Weather Channel app, if you have the American Red Cross Emergency app, um, when it comes to that. So yeah, so there's a lot of different ways for you to stay in the know, but again, you have to have the proper apps. You have to have the proper to keep you updated. I don't know if you're sometimes local TV stations will have like you can sign up for like local alerts too and stuff, and they'll like call your phone or they will they'll ping you or something as well. There's quite a few different ways to stay in the know to get notified of warnings or watches before they hit your area. So um but yeah, these ones right here, Mike's talking about these right here. Yeah, these are actually way weaker than what this one is right here. So um this is more the main or the strongest one out of the bunch is this guy right here. So and as you see here too, right, we got a lot of rain here too as well. So that's helping stabilize more of the atmosphere there as well. So um, but yeah, but Mike, just a um, typical thunderstorm there. I really won't even call it a thunderstorm. It hasn't even really reached. Well, at least according to radar, okay. Obviously, being on the ground and being underneath it is a different thing than looking at it on radar. But at least according to radar, it is just a typical thunder shower, so or a thunderstorm if you want to call it that. So, but yeah, yeah, Mike. If you look back again, if you look here on my screen, if you look here at this, um, I'll zoom out even more. You can see here, there's not a whole lot, but what's driving it? You see this front right here? This is what's called a cold front. See the blue lines here? This is a cold front. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I need to zoom in more. But this is a cold front. So the cold front is what is driving these out in front. So these are part of out in front of the cold front. But once the cold front comes and passes through your area, you will obviously be on the backside and be in more stable air, and obviously have cooler air as well. So the cold front is pretty close to your doorstep. So yeah, it looks like the cold front, if this map is correct, the cold front is not too far north of Richmond. So it looks like the cold front will be pushing through probably to you. Let's see if I can put this in motion, actually. Let's see if this motion will work here. Let me see where they're loading it from here. So, oh, that's from earlier today. Okay. No, I don't want to see that from earlier today. Okay, we can look at the H triple R. H triple R though will give us not using. Let's go to H triple R. The H triple. So what H triple R does? H triple R is a tool that us meteorologists use to. It's basically the same thing that you would see if you're watching your local weather channel. They also use H triple R. It's again it's a forecast. It's a model that shows pretty much where rain or storms are going to be at a specific time of day and things of that nature. So when it comes to that. So if we're looking at here, so the H triple R, again, this is called H triple R. That's what it's called. So we look at composite reflectivity. And if we look at this CONUS, if you ever see CONUS, if you ever hear CONUS in meteorology or in weather, it actually just stands for Continental United States. So the CON is continental, and the US is United States. So if you ever see CONUS or hear CONUS, that's what it means. It just means continental United States. So if we go back here, we look at if we look at the H triple R, okay. So right now we are looking at right now we're basically looking at midnight right now. So what's that? It's basically well, it's actually, yeah, it's 1 o'clock your time over there. So yeah, it's showing Virginia Beach with some rain there, then it's showing it getting cleared up, and basically everything is basically getting out of there within the next, before once the cold front basically makes its way down there. So, but it's talking, yeah, it's still basically showing. It is still showing. At least the storm, at least some of the storms or the rain hanging on at least till around the morning time. So, but then again, remember, this is just a model though. This is not 100% accurate, but it is as accurate, about as accurate as we can get. But it's not a perfect model. So, but nonetheless, what you're looking at there, and what I'm looking at here, this is basically 8 a.m. Central Time. So this is basically 9 a.m. Eastern Time. But again, so it is showing some stuff still hanging around for the next. I would sometimes truncate it and sometimes maybe say 6 to 8 hours. But besides that, because if this front stalls, so like if this cold front stalls, sometimes the cold fronts will stall and they won't push all the way through yet. So, so it depends if this stalls. Then it can obviously out in front. If it does stall up here, then out in front you're just going to have convection happening right here because it's still instability right here. So The stable side is behind the cold front here. So it all depends on what the cold front does. So it depends on when it pushes through, if it stalls, things like that. But we'll see. But besides that, it's still not showing anything severe. It's not showing anything even strong, really. It's just your typical, again, your typical, thunderstorm or thunder shower, whatever you want to call it. So, um, but again, it could push through sooner. It could push through, later. But nonetheless, it is pretty close. According to the map, it is pretty close to you. So we'll have to see if once that does kick on through, then you'll be on the stable side the um, of the weather there. So, and you can see this actually cold front is actually way up here, stands way up here in Canada. So way up here in Canada, the cold front goes all the way down here, connects to another uh, low pressure right down here as well. So this starts all the way up here in Canada. This is what has pushed through. If you remember a couple of days ago, this was back out here in causing the severe weather on Monday in um, Iowa, Wisconsin, and then all of this pushed through. Then it carried off to the east here, and this is why we had all of the severe weather yesterday for. So, but again, it is all due to this guy up here. So that's how we read it. That's how we do it, Mike. That's how we read it. Um, but again, yeah, Mike. I'll go back and check the radar for you though, the current radar, and just to make sure you're all good. And if you can see, and as you see here, all this right here, this is just barely any. This is barely anything right here at all. Um, Still looks like you might get a few rumbles of thunder from maybe this guy right here. Uh, but besides that, just some rain. Yeah, just your typical stuff, Mike. So hopefully that helped you. Hopefully it helped ease your burden and ease your concern there. So appreciate you though being in here, Mike. Highly appreciate that. Always willing to help and willing to keep you safe and to, obviously ease any concerns you have when it comes to storms or anything like that. So please, again, ask any questions. Appreciate you being in here. Appreciate everybody who's in here. Hope you guys enjoyed learning about hurricanes tonight. Hurricanes, again, it's hurricane season again, but look for hurricane season to really pick up starting next month and then September um, to really be fueling hurricanes. So hope you guys learned a lot about hurricanes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very appreciative of everybody being here. I know it's late. It's 12:15 my time. Um, I know that. I know some of you guys are. I know some of you watching are on the East Coast. So uh, you're welcome. You're welcome, brother Mike. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that so much. Yeah, I appreciate you being part of this community. We appreciate you being part of this community. Um, just continue to grow. Keep growing our community. It's not just my community; it's our community. So, but as you can see from the subscribers, according to the latest counter, almost close to 4,600, getting close to 4,600 subscribers on YouTube. So pushing to 5,000 pretty quickly. At this rate, should be at 5,000 here in about 3 or 4 days or so. So 5,000 is a very, very great milestone to hit. So hit 5,000 and then keep going to 10,000, 20,000. Keep going, so look forward to that. So thank you, Gisleen, for subscribing. Thank you very much. Highly appreciate you being in here. And we got Julie in here. Thank you, Julie, for being in here. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Julie, always being in here, being an encourager, being a supporter. Highly appreciate that. We just I just got done teaching about hurricanes. So, um, but nonetheless, glad you are in here. Thank you for being in here. So, you are awesome. Right now, I'm just helping out one of our fellow people here in the community in the chat. His name is Mike from Virginia Beach, helping him out, trying to calm any concerns that he has regarding some of these thunderstorms that are over by his area. So that's why I have weather-wise up right now. So, but again, yeah, if you are just tuning in, thank you for tuning into John Boy Severe Weather Lab Plus Education, where you will find live severe weather coverage, and you will also find live educational teaching, which you are getting right now. So, Mike says, "Do you get warnings too on weatherwise? Like if a tornado warning happens in the U.S., does it pop up for you?" Yes, it does. You can Weatherwise will alert you. You can get alerts from Weatherwise. If you were to download the app, you just obviously put in your address or whatever, and yes, and you can get um, if you're talking about localized, like just personal for you, you can get that. But you can also see all of the tornado warnings on the whole app. So the app will show you all the tornado warnings throughout the whole country. So, but if you want to get warned about your specific area, for them to like text you and to like maybe make like a siren sound on your phone, you just type in your address and you'll get an alert on your phone that says, hey, you are underneath a tornado warning, or you're underneath a severe thunderstorm warning, or whatever it is. So, oh yeah, you can set that up in there as well. So, yeah, highly recommend Weatherwise. Again, I highly recommend Weatherfront. I highly recommend the Weather Channel app. Weather Channel app is really good too at sending alerts and notices and things of that. Even the American Red Cross Emergency app, I highly recommend that too. So, Debbie says, John Boy, is there going to be any severe weather any next week? Hopefully. Uh, Debbie said, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, Debbie says, John Boy, is there going to be any severe weather any next week? Hopefully, not where I am at. My birthday is next week. Well, happy birthday to you there, Debbie. Well, I'm sure we'll see you. I'll be streaming, so I'm sure I'll see you hopefully next week sometime to really tell you that. But let's see. You're in right now, right? So I can take a look at that and pull that up. But right now, at least as far as the outlooks are going right now, the outlooks are not showing any, um, at least the 3 day outlook, right? Because once you get to the 4 and the 8 day, it's too low to predict a severe weatherwise. But at least the current 3 day outlook is just there's no severe weather at all, really, on it whatsoever. So right now it doesn't look like anything is really popping up here. Or anything is really going to be firing up right now. So looks like we're going to be in a little bit of a dry spell, or a little bit of a more of a quieter time. And again, that's typical, because look where we're at. We're at July 23rd now. Well, at least here in Central Time and Eastern Time, it is July 23rd for us. For people in the Mountain and Pacific, it is still only July 22nd. But nonetheless, yes, the current 3 day outlook does not have any. At least last time I looked at it, when I looked at it today, it did not have anything severe on it. So that's a good thing when it comes to that. But again, so not that I've seen. So uh, when it comes to that, yeah. So I haven't seen any type of. At least it's 3 day. I haven't seen any. At least for this next week. But again, it's weather, right? And things can change. But at least on the horizon, no, nothing, not even dark green. Like not even a level 1. So, um, when it comes to that, so and Julie, so yeah, so I'll take a look at. I will take a look at that. We'll take a look at the outlook here. And I can take a look at Renell too. We can pull up Renell, see the kind of like the 7 day forecast. But so remember, it's forecasting, right? So it's hard to predict tomorrow's forecast. So when we see a 7 day forecast, it's just no, it's going to change, and it's going to change quite a bit. So um, it's and then what cracks me up sometimes is when I see weather apps are like, oh, you can pay extra and know what's going to happen 14 days, down. It's like that is just a whole bunch of crock. So don't fall for that when weather apps try to say, oh, pay extra to get the 14-day forecast or something. It's like, no, the 14-day forecast is like, that's like you and me. That's like you and me going to the casino, and every slot we play, um, for them to nail the 14-day forecast would be for like um, any of us to go to the casino, and every slot or every card table we hit up, we win every single hand, and we freaking hit every single jackpot that we touch, or every slot that we touch. It just doesn't happen and doesn't work that way. So please don't be. And I'm obviously a meteorologist, and I'm in the weather field. Do not fall for when apps try to get you to say, oh, you can get, to pay more for longer forecasting, that. So when it comes to that. Um but yeah, so definitely, again, the whole point of that whole soapbox thing is just no, it's forecasting, right? It's hard to forecast tomorrow. It's hard to forecast. It really is. It's challenging to forecast even the next hour, or what's happening, because I mean, yeah, we have all the greatest tools and the greatest, computers and algorithms and data and physics and mathematics and atmospheric sciences and everything else that goes into it. But remember, the weather does what the weather wants to do. It doesn't care about all the great things that we have and tools that we have. It doesn't care. So that's why sometimes if you ever had a day, right, where they're like, oh, today's going to be sunny and it's going to be 75 or something, right? And then that day comes and you're like, it was cloudy and it was like 68 or something, or 66 or something, right? Or whatever it was. And just because, it was just a missed forecast, and that's just how it works sometimes. So, because the forecasts are basically always, they're never going to be accurate. So, and it changes day by day. So when it comes to that, but nonetheless, what else do I see here? But yes, I will take a look at that for you, Debbie, here in a moment. Julie says, I think she said you talked about Bertha earlier. Actually, I talked about Bertha just a little bit. Bertha's she is a tropical storm down there. Um, but she was kind of the um, what you want to call it, the fuel or the inspiration to do tonight's lesson. So, um, because she has gone down there, and um, of course, and we are in severe, or not severe. What? Geez, we are in hurricane season. Um, so yeah, so it's good to learn about that. But I only touched a little bit about Bertha, but I could talk a little bit more about her. But she is down there turning up a little bit, just off the coast, right around Louisiana, Mississippi, and she is forecasted to head west, due west, basically, towards Texas. So again, even though it's a tropical storm, it can still pack. So it has some decent winds, remember, but the winds are going to be less 73 miles. They're going to be less than 74 miles per hour. She is not projected to gain any strength and become a hurricane. She's still projected to just stay a tropical storm. But remember, there's still be a little bit of storm surge there, and again, there could be a little bit of wind there. But nonetheless, Bertha is churning. Big Bertha, whatever you want to call her, Big Bertha does not mess around. So don't play around with Big Bertha down there. If you are down there on the coast, don't mess around with Big Bertha. She does not play. any games down there. So Big Bertha is not in the mood to play any games. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to mess with Big Bertha down there. So that's just me, though. That is me, just me. Looks like we got Super Slav in here. Thank you, Super Slav, for being in here. As far as winter weather goes, I have not looked ahead. I usually don't look ahead until uh, maybe starting September-ish. It's when I kind of start looking at wintertime. But I have not, so I don't know the answer to that. I have not looked at the outlooks yet for winter season for Illinois yet. So I cannot give you an answer for that, but because I have not looked at that yet. So, but again, I usually start looking at that towards later once fall time comes, or actually right before fall time comes and stuff like that. So let's see what kind of is shaping up to be. So, um, well, yeah. So apologize for that, but I don't have an answer for that for you, Super Slav. And again, I appreciate you being here, but I will. Again, I'll always be straightforward with you. I'll always be raw with you. I'll always be transparent. If I do not know the answer, I will tell you because I will not give you an answer that is going to lead you in the wrong direction. And obviously, I won't lie to you. So, um, but yeah, so I don't know the answer to that question. So, um, but I'm interested to look at it and see what they are predicting or what they're kind of forecasting. For Chicago region. So, Debbie says, "I hope John McKinney, yes, gets new snow tires way before they have." Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, wintertime, wintertime is especially here in Chicago, right? I mean, there have been actually the past couple. Well, this last one was really cold, but the past other ones before that weren't too bad. So, um, like when it came to like coldness, and I mean of course we had some pretty cold days, but besides like snow and stuff, it wasn't too bad. So um oh, Mike says he used to live in Texas, so awesome. um Very awesome. Oh wow, Mike says he's got to get up in an hour and a half his time for work. So to get up at 3 a.m. for work is very early. So um that's like Jonathan, which we don't see Jonathan in here because he's in the UK. That's like him getting up and milking the cows at like 4 in the morning or something, or whatever time he gets up. It's ridiculous to milk his. I mean, I know it's part of the process, but I mean, it is pretty comical sometimes how early that has to be done. So, but hopefully, maybe we might see him in here. It's I think he's like 6 hours ahead of me, so I think it's like 6:30 his time or something. Uh, so not 100% sure, uh, but yeah, Super Slab. Sorry, man, I couldn't answer that question. But again, I don't know the answer because I haven't looked at the models or the outlooks yet for wintertime. I try to hold on to summertime as long as possible before I start looking at winter time and getting into snow and the whole the ice and the whole all the fun blizzards and nor'easters um, and things like that. Um, so yeah. Debbie, let's take a look though, Debbie, at what? That's not what I wanted. Give me. Let me type in West Virginia then. Oh yeah, my bad. There we go. So, right now, West Virginia. according to the Weather Channel. I'm sorry, not the Weather Channel. What am I on? I'm on NWS. Okay. Sometimes they throws me off. Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday, partly sunny. Saturday, chance of some thunderstorms. And Sunday, chance of thunderstorms as well. Monday, chance of thunderstorms. Tuesday, possible thunderstorm. Wednesday, chance of shower. So, what day's your birthday? Next week. I think they might have it. I think you guys. I think this. But to take a look at the outlook here as well. But yeah, let me know when your birthday is. So I take a look at it, Debbie. Wednesday. All right, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, and again, that's a whole week. That's it's a whole week out. So they're saying a chance of showers, partly sunny. Right now, so right now they're saying there's a 40% chance. But again, this is a whole week out, so this will change dramatically. But right now, they are saying a chance of, and this is on NOAA. This is or the National Weather Service. So this is NOAA. They are saying your 7 day lookout, your 7 day out forecast is chance of showers for Wednesday. This is the 29th. Wednesday the 29th, chance of showers, partly sunny, with a high near 74, chance of precipitation 40%. So, but again, this will change. But right now, that's a decent forecast. Right now, at least to me, I would take that forecast if that were my any day for one, and if that were my birthday, that would be cool. For that. So that's what it's looking like in right now, West Virginia for the next 7 days. For the next 7 days. So always, yes. It's always changing. Weather is constantly changing. Constantly changing. So it's constantly changing all around us, and we don't even, it's not something that we um, can see, happening. Like I mean, the physics behind it and the sciences behind it is not something that we see. It's always changing, but we can't see it with our own eyes. We only see the output of it, whether that's uh, thunderstorms or snow or rain or whatever it is. Then we see that, but we don't see the actual, behind the scenes of what's going on. So. But it's interesting to know what's happening there in the atmosphere. So a lot of atmospheric science there, thermodynamics, things like that that's going on. So, but yeah, weather's cool, man. I'm on a mission to make weather cool and weather fun. For people who maybe are like, hey, weather sucks or weather is stupid or whatever. I'm here to change your opinion. So, Debbie says I'll be 39 next week. Awesome. That is awesome. That is very awesome. That is so cool. 39. Almost to the big 40. Almost pushing 40. That's cool. That is very awesome. But if you're just tuning in, thank you for tuning in to John Boy Severe Weather Lab Plus Education. Where here you will find live severe weather coverage, and you also find live weather seminars and sessions. So again, I've covered lots of great topics so far within I've just started doing this maybe a little over a month, maybe 5 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. So I've covered a lot of great topics so far. Um, Hail and um, tornadoes, hurricanes was the topic tonight. Was the lesson tonight? Earthquakes, lightning, clouds, um, storm chasing lingo, storm chasing, other stuff like that. So a lot of cool stuff so far. So a lot of great stuff. Debbie says yes, that's next year. I'm not looking forward to it. That's cool. That's cool. The big 4-0. I haven't seen him in here tonight, but sometimes he's in here, or a lot of times he's in here. I've not seen Lonnie in here tonight. I've not seen him, so. And I haven't seen a lot of people that I used to see in here in the beginning, and that doesn't mean anything. Maybe I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just recognizing. I recognize a lot of obviously the usuals, and then some of the people who was in here as the usuals have not been in here for a little while. So, um, I don't know. I think 40 though is um it's just to me now any number. Now this is the way I look at it. 40 to me is just 40 to me is just a number, just like any age is a number to me. So uh to me it's more about to me it's not just more about to me it's how you feel, right? How mature you are. Um things like that. So a lot of people are like I think people think of 40 as like you kind of you hit like you know halfway, right? Um and then so they kind of think that's when you start going, back down the hill, So, uh, and then so I don't know. I think it kind of gets a bad rap, but I think you are as young as you feel, as young as There's a lot of you know. It's still a lot of stuff, But I don't know. I think people, and then I think people also get afraid to. Uh, Uh, I think a lot of people too get afraid because it's 10 years from 50. So it's like, wow, if I just went from 30 to 40 this quickly, right? Now I'm going to go to 40 to 50 even quicker, So, um, uh, but yeah, I don't know. To me, that's the way I've looked at it. That's the way I've always looked at it. So I just look at any number. Like to me, age is just a number. And it really is to me. Um, you know, our government age is not the age that we feel, right? So, um, when it comes to that. So Libby says, I agree. Then she says, I almost died at 38, and so each year since has been a gift. Oh, did not know that, Libby. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully, um, whatever that was or whatever happened um, was just like a one time, thing or whatever. But, whatever it was, hopefully it's no longer there or not a part of your life at all. So, um, but sorry to hear that. Hopefully everything is okay from that. So, um, but yeah, that can definitely be a harrowing experience for sure. Um, yeah, Libby. Libby says some days I feel young and some days I feel 90. Yeah, I think we all kind of feel that way sometimes, right? So, Uh, but I think as long as we're doing what we love, right? That's what keeps us young at heart. If we're joking, we're laughing, we're having fun. We're laughing at the stupidest things, and we're just not. We just don't take life too seriously, right? Just enjoy it and just have fun and be goofy, and and go after the things that you love, right? And that really is what keeps you, it keeps you humble, but it keeps you really Um, um, it keeps you humble, but it keeps you, just having fun. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, like I'm a jokester, I'm a goofster. Uh, like my wife would tell you, like uh, I'm a big goofball and a big jokester, and but laughter really is the best medicine. Like, and I know that because I can say that because I didn't laugh for like 3 months. Um, so once I was started laughing again, it was a really great thing. But yeah, but I mean, definitely, you definitely have to. To me, that's the advice that I give that I can give to people is just really just look at life and just treat it as you know just have fun, just laugh as much as you can, and be goofy as much as you can. And of course, you have to be mature on things. Of course, that's just what's given. But I mean, at heart, just have fun, be goofy, enjoy it, and be thankful for what you have, and just really thank God for everything that you have. And because obviously the saying is right, everything it could always be worse, and the truth is it could always be worse. So, um, so um, you have to really be grateful, for what you have. And sometimes I struggle. I've struggled with that before, and I think maybe all of us have struggled with that. But I've struggled with that for sure before, and you know, and because it's easy to look at something and be like, oh, I want something like else, or I want something bigger, or I want something this, or whatever, and but it's not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is just to be humble with humility and be thankful. So when it comes to that, so Libby says it is because of a severe food allergy that affects uh, that affects even through airborne spores. I had a few close calls, not as close at a time when I was 38. We never know when a time. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. A severe food allergy. Wow. Thankfully, and I'm blessed. And I'm blessed. Thankfully, I don't have any food allergies. Um, so I'm very blessed on that. I'm very thankful for that. And but I know there are people who have severe food allergies. So just because I don't experience it doesn't mean that it's not real. Doesn't mean that it's not out there, right? And that's the same concept when I teach people about mental illness. Just because you don't have it or you've never experienced it doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean it's not real. So, um, it's the same concept. Um, so you have to really understand to be. You just have to always be grateful and gracious for what you have. Be humble. Have humility. Um, and really get as low as you can get. Like you have to be really humble, right? Uh, there are some things that have really, really humbled me. Like I didn't really know what humbleness meant, and until these things happened to me, and I was like, okay, that's what humbleness. That's what being humble is. So, um, you know, when it comes to that, so. Libby says, so true. Not all issues are visible. We never know what someone else is dealing with. It's true. Very true. We don't, right? Um, if somebody has diabetes, right, and they get dizzy all the time, and they get sick or whatever else it was, or is, right? We don't look at the person and just go, well, it's your fault that you have, diabetes. It's your fault that you ate this or you did that, and whatever it is. No, we help them and we provide, you know, grace and care and love and everything else. And but we don't go up to them and just say, well, suck it up, whatever. So, but that's how it is with mental illness. There's a stigma where it's like, well, if you have mental illness, people are just like, and you showing signs of mental illness, people are just like, suck it up. Um, we're not gonna, it's like a whole different view, whole different look, and it shouldn't be that way. It should not ever be that way. It should be, um, cared for. It should be um, thought out. It should be, all of that. And then, but besides that, it's it's trying to change that whole stigma, right? It's trying to change all of that, and it's obviously an uphill battle because, and again, when people don't suffer from something, they just either a they blow it off or they just tend to think that it's not real, and it's very true. It's very true, and unfortunately, that's how a lot of people think. They think, well, if I'm not bothered by it, then it's not out there, right? And the same thing happened with COVID, right? And I'm not going to get into whole COVID politics, so this isn't a politic um, channel, so I'm not going to get into politics on it. But the whole thing was there's a lot of people who, if they didn't get COVID, they actually didn't even think that it was even out there. They just thought it was some made up, you know, disease and stuff. And it's like, well, that's not the way to think about it because just because you haven't experienced it does not mean that it's not there, that it's not real, that's not a real thing. So, but it's true. There are people who, and there's people who still think that way. There's still people who have never contacted it. There's still people who have never got it, and they still think that way. That it's just made up. These people are just getting sick with whatever, you know. But again, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, so I'm going to leave politics out of it. I'm just talking about just how how some people again, going back to the whole mental illness thing. That's how people think. They're just like, well, if I don't have it, um, I've never seen anybody with it, so how do I know it's real? It's just made up. It's in your mind. You can just overcome it, you know. So, um, and that's not the way it works. It's not the way because there's different levels. There's different levels to it. So, there are some people who have mild depression and they can go to sleep and they can wake up and still do their normal go to work, um, do whatever their husband or wifely, you know, duties are or whatever. What they can still perform and do all that type of stuff. And that's fine. That's awesome. But then there's somebody else right down the street who can't even get out of bed, who can barely even eat, who hasn't taken a shower for 2 weeks, or somebody who hasn't, right, your next, who hasn't been outside, in 3 months. There's somebody hasn't laughed in 3 months. So there's different levels to the whole process. So, um, so you just got to be able to. You just have to be able to understand that if you haven't experienced it or if you haven't seen it through somebody else, experiencing it does not mean that it's not out there. So, um, because obviously I've experienced it myself and I've seen it firsthand as well. So, and but it's very real. It's very real. It's as real as any other disease that there is. So, um, but again, a lot of people just say, just suck it up and just try better and do your best and soldier on, and you can do it. And that's not the approach. So when it comes to that, so. Debbie says, yeah, my sister, she walked away from her family a long time ago, and my brother stays at Sam Black. He has a kid too. Okay. And Libby says, yeah, it's like when people tell me, then don't eat it. Why should I have to not have it around you? Yeah, exactly. Um, it's funny, right? It's funny how much it's funny how much people actually spend, how much energy people spend trying to dictate or trying to um, push their own ways of living on somebody else than what they focus on doing that to themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they project their own. It is really comical and funny how much energy and time that actually some people actually do spend doing that. And it's like if they would spend that amount of time focused on their own life and their own everything else, it's like their whole view would change around instead of trying to focus on somebody else's life. Yeah, the way I teach people and preach about people is like focus on your own life, focus on enhancing your own life. So, um, and whatever that enhancement looks like just focus on enhancing your own life. Like don't you can't try to project and dictate um, Like you're putting your energy in an area that it doesn't need to be put into. You're putting way too much time and energy into something that you can't control. And the whole thing about life is to really be happy and to really be gracious and happy and just joyful. And it is if we keep ourselves inside of the circle of controllables, right? The things that we can control. So if we all live inside of the circle of controllables, like we could control our anger, we could control the way that we treat people, we could control the words that we say, we can, the things that we can control. If we stay inside of that circle, we are much happier. But when we step out of that circle and we try to control things that we can't control, then we become less happy. We spend our time and energy on something that we shouldn't be spending our time and energy on. So, again, so it's like I'm not going to spend my time and energy on trying to run somebody's life or dictate somebody's life. Or it's like I'm trying to enhance my own life and I'm trying to stay within my own circle of controllables in order to enhance that. And so it's like when people spend too much energy, and I've been guilty of it too before. So, and I know this because I've been guilty of a lot of them, and it's helped me learn through being guilty of these. Is what's helped me stay within inside of the circle of my circle of controllables. It's like gasoline prices, right? I can't control gasoline prices. Yeah, we can gripe and we can complain, but at the end of the day, we're just spending wasted energy if we gripe and complain about something that we can't control, right? Gas prices, food prices, whatever with stuff that we can't control. If we're gonna gripe and if we're going to complain, we are just spending wasted energy on something that is just nominal to us. That doesn't. It's nothing that we can control. So again, it is. So again, if we live our life within the circle of controllables, the things that we can control, whether whatever that is, emotions, actions, words, the way we treat people, the way we help people, things like that. Everything that we can control. If we stay within sight of that, um, the more happy, or the happier that we are, um, the happier that we will be. When it comes to that. So again, there's a lot of people that spend too much time trying to dictate and trying to put too much energy into thinking they know what's um, best for somebody else um, when they don't even know what's best for themselves, or they don't, or they're trying to dictate somebody's life and say, well, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And at the same time, we have to be able to, um, at the same time, waste all that energy on something that they can't control. So it's like, so at the end of the day, and again, I've been guilty of this stuff. I mean, all the time, right? I've been guilty, again. So, but that's what's helped me grow and mature as a man, and mature as a Christian, as a man, in just in society. It's helped me. It's just focus on the circle of controllables, and when it comes to that. Um, so it's very, so that's the way I look at it. I look at it as so like again, like if I were to Libby has a severe food allergy, but if I would just be like, hey, eat whatever, or you should eat this or you shouldn't eat that or whatever. If I try to, it's like I don't know what's best for her. I don't. She knows what's best for her, but I don't. You know, Nobody knows what's best for you than yourself. You know what's best for you. Nobody else on the outside knows what's best for you. Besides God, God obviously knows what's best for everybody. But I'm talking in human form. In human form, nobody knows what's best for you than yourself. You know what's best for you. You know your body better than anybody else. You know your mind better than anybody else. So you know what's best for you. Now, sometimes do we need hard lessons? Yeah. Sometimes do we need some stern talking tos? Yes. Do we need discipline? Yes. Of course, all that we need. But nonetheless, we know what's best for us, especially as adults, as we mature. We know that, okay, this is what's best for me. Um, it's not somebody on the outside that can tell me what's best. Sure, they can point me in the right directions and they can help guide it, right? And the guidance and things like that. And of course, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't take guidance. I'm not saying that at all. But at the end of the day, we know in our heart of hearts what is best for us. And when it comes to that, so yeah, so it's at the end of the day again, right? We know at the end of the day what foods are best for us, right? Or what we eat, the way that we act. We know um again, that's the way I look at it. It's like nobody knows my, it's obviously except for God, right? But nobody knows my life or what's best for me better than what I know it myself. And of course, I listen to people. I take guidance. I take, of course, we always have to take guidance and listen and learn. But at the end of the day, they don't know my full experience, right? They don't know your full experience. Um, they only know what they see, right? They don't know you, your full inner self and all the and everything that goes inside of that. So, just a question for Mike here. Um, Again, if you're just tuning in, we are in our fireside chat segment of the live stream here. So, here, if you're just tuning in, live stream will always consist of, if I'm teaching, will always consist of teaching the topic first, and then we will get into the fireside chats after that. So, I just see what Mike, you did write something. Where was it at? Oh, here it is. I don't want to interrupt. I'm looking at weather-wise. Am I correct that it's mostly raining in Chesapeake? Yeah, it has lightning outside, but the app seems not severe. Yeah, let me take a look. Let me take a look. So we are looking at, what time is it now? 12:58. Oh, let me. I'm not on. Hold on. What am I at here? Give me a different. Where my mouse go? There it is. This is not even. Oh, I know why. That's why. I was like, wait a second. It doesn't look right. Oh, come on. All right, there we go. Now it's updated. That was weird. It's like, why is it not updated for? Okay, so this scan just came in here, and again, radar. If you know if you're looking at radar, radar will always be old. The image will always be old. It's never a live scan, and I know you guys have probably heard me say this many times, but I just don't like how they put live on next to the radar because it's not. It's really a misleading term, and when it comes to that, so um, I don't know. It's just really misleading. So, um, but I guess it's as live data as we could get. So I guess I'll give them that. Yes. Right now, Chesapeake is mainly just rainy. You have a little bit. If you are in Chesapeake, Mike, or right here around Virginia Beach, mainly just rain. Maybe some rumbles of thunder, maybe a few flashes of lightning, but nothing that is severe at all. So, no severe weather. Nothing like that. So that is a very positive thing. Where's my mouse? Wants to. But yeah, but definitely, yeah, Mike, definitely nothing severe. So nothing at all severe on the app. Just again, just some little normal. All right, I don't like to kind of like to say the word normal, but a typical um, thunder showers or whatever. Yeah, so just you just have a little bit of rain, but I don't even see any type of wind or anything like that. So nothing again to be concerned about there. So, if to help you ease your concerns. So, when it comes to that, so. But Mike, thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. Again, if you're new to, what's up, Bubba? Yeah, give me like 10 minutes, okay? All right, well, give me like 5 minutes. I know. All right, love you. Like 10 minutes, yeah. Love you. Like 5 minutes, yeah. 5 minutes. Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh man, that's my buddy boy. That's my junior. So, oh man, that kid is awesome. So, but nonetheless, yes. But Mike, yes, thank you for being here. Um, you guys are all awesome. Everybody who has been here. But Mike, if you're new here to my weather teachings sessions, I always teach a topic first, and then after that, we just jump into fireside chats where we just talk about anything and everything, just to get to know each other better. You know how we can pray for one another to just grow the community to really just strengthen that. So, but again, that's part of my that's the whole goal of this of my channel here, and my channel is new, uh, Mike. So I just started uh, live streaming and everything else really about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we're talking maybe just over a month ago that I started live streaming. So I was making videos first, and but then I did a whole channel rebranding a couple weeks back to really uh, push towards what I'm really trying to accomplish. So, um, but I partner too with if you haven't yet, Mike, please subscribe to uh, Storm Chaser John McKinney. I partner with him. He's a great mentor. Um, great. He's a pastor. He's just a great individual. So obviously, there's a lot of great things to say about him. So, and if you haven't yet, I will put his thing in here. I'll put exclamation point Papa John. Uh, yeah, there you go. I think Debbie did it as well. Yep. So there we go. But yeah, so you can subscribe to Storm Chaser John McKinney. I'm very passionate about storm chasing, passionate about weather, passionate about teaching and helping people learn about weather and have fun doing it. So um, and then Debbie just typed in uh, John McKinney's son, Freddie McKinney. Um, so please subscribe to Freddie McKinney as well. And please, if you guys haven't, please subscribe to Chasing for a Cause. I know she's in here, or well, she wasn't here. I don't know if she's in here now, but she wasn't here earlier. She does a lot of great stuff with animals, so she does a lot of great things. Yes, Mike, I will take a look. But yes, definitely from what we're seeing. So if we're seeing this right here, if you're seeing what I see here, let me zoom in for you. So yeah, all you have, you said you're in Virginia Beach. So if you're in Virginia Beach, again, what we're looking at, we're just looking at just a typical thunderstorm right here. There's nothing that is severe. There is nothing that has been. This doesn't even have a weather statement on it. So there's nothing that is even again, it's even severe at all. So yes, definitely, if you want to sleep for the next hour, 55 minutes, or whatever it is for you, you are definitely safe to do that. At least weather-wise. When it comes to the weather, there's nothing, no tornado, nothing like that. So definitely would be okay to do that if you so choose to do that. But again, yeah, if anybody's new here, if anybody's new here, that is the whole point of my channel. Is first of all, obviously the number one point is to spread the gospel and is to enhance the kingdom of Christ. That is the number one overall goal. But besides that, everything else is second. So besides that is to help people, educate people, make weather fun, but to be a great tool and a great resource for all of you guys, and to grow this community. So and it's grown quick. I mean, it really has. Like I said, I've only been doing this for um, a little over, like, live streaming and stuff, just a little over a month. So um, and so yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm almost pushing 5,000 subs on YouTube, um, and all that. So God bless you too. God bless you too. God bless you too, Mike. I appreciate it, buddy. So appreciate you being here. So I appreciate all you all being here. So thank you all very much for being in here. It is 1:07 my time. So pretty late. I know I started late. You know that. So uh started late and everything. So love you, big guy. Okay. Love you. But yeah, so again, it is. Okay. Right. Yeah, it's 1:07 my time. So 2:07 Eastern, 12:07 Mountain, 11:07 Pacific. So if you're in a Pacific time, it is still only July 22nd. So but nonetheless, I appreciate y'all being in here. I'm going to sign off here in a few minutes. So I'm going to sign off here in a few minutes. Appreciate that. My son is being goofy, so he's awesome. But nonetheless, going to sign off here in a few minutes. Thank you all for being here. Hope you guys learned about hurricanes, had fun learning about them, enjoyed learning about them. Goofy boy. But yes, hope you guys enjoyed learning about hurricanes. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed the stream. You guys make all this successful. You make every stream successful. So thank you to everybody for watching on Facebook. Thank you to everybody watching on Twitch. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube. Thank you to everybody watching on Kick. So hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Enjoyed about hurricanes. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me in obviously Pastor John's Discord. And again, I will be getting my own Discord here. And again, the goal is to have it here by the weekend. So I gotta. That's the goal. Might miss that goal, but nonetheless, hopefully here, hopefully soon in the pipeline here. So very thankful for all of you. Very thankful for all the mods. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Can't remember if any other mods were in here. But any other mods that were in here, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mike, from Virginia Beach. Appreciate you popping in. Super Slav. Anybody else that I might have missed? Anybody else that I might have missed? Appreciate all of you guys for being in here. So, oh, Julie too. Yes, thank you, Julie. Appreciate you, Julie. Thank you being in here. Great encourager, great supporter. Hope you all have a great night, a great evening, great sleep. I know it's late. I do know that it's late pretty much everywhere here in the U.S. So, but again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me in Pastor John's Discord, or you can email me. My email is in my YouTube bio. So I do appreciate that. God bless you, Julie. God bless Libby, Debbie, everybody who's been in here tonight. So again, awesome stream. Great topic. I have many topics. The topics are pretty much almost endless. So a lot of good stuff there to still teach and to educate on. So but again, thank you guys very much. So appreciate all of you. You guys are very awesome. So thank you very much. So but again, you guys are awesome. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. So, and like always, be brave and let the Lord guide